Chapter 1734. Suyu couldn't help but stare. Was that the legendary Bei Wangchen? However, that didn't seem right. He wasn't a real entity. No. A participant with a high cultivation said in awe, that's not the real body. It's just his appearance. Bei Wangchen cultivated one of the great Yu's 10 great divine techniques, the 9 aspects technique. He has 9 doppelgangers with different faces, and each doppelganger has the terrifying strength of a half-step worldly sovereign. The one in front of us should be Ao Xiang's clone. Su Yu's pupils constricted. If one clone had the strength of a half-step divine warrior, what would happen if 9 clones were combined? What about the real body's strength? Looking at Empress Ziwei, Su Yu felt like he could feel her emotions. She, who looked down on all the outstanding talents in the world, had encountered the king of outstanding talents. Any objections? Ao Xiang looked down at the crowd lazily. Everyone who was looked down at avoided eye contact. Those who complained about the unfairness just now hid in the crowd and didn't dare to speak again. The crowd was dead silent. Ao Xiang said calmly, since there are no objections, those who were swept away by the golden storm, go wherever you want. Everyone in the surroundings looked at each other, and then they chose to leave silently. In the blink of an eye, there were only 100 people left. Ao Xiang looked down at them and said, "Congratulations on passing the first assessment." "Oh, including them," Ao Xiang said calmly. The dozen people behind him flew off the golden boat and landed in front of the Great Void Gate. They had also passed the first assessment. Some strong men clenched their fists. It was ridiculous that they had barely passed the assessment after going through so many dangers. What about the dozen people? Just because of Bei Wangchen and Ao Xiang's words, they passed without any assessment. However, what could they do? Bei Wangchen not only had great charisma, but he was also the host of this year's Great Void Hidden Dragon competition. He could decide everyone's fate with a single thought. The second assessment is the Great Void Hunt. You will have the opportunity to enter the Great Void Gate for a 3-day hunt. You will have to hunt the Great Void Beasts in the Great Void Gate. Those who rank in the top 20 in terms of the number of beasts hunted will enter the final assessment. Hearing that, everyone's expression changed again. Hunt Great Void Beasts? There has never been such a test in the past? Someone exclaimed. Ao Xiang said indifferently, there is one now. If you don't want to participate, you can scram immediately. I won't stay any longer. Those who had opinions immediately felt resentful. Prince Bei Wangchen, it's not that we don't want to participate, but everyone knows how dangerous the Great Void Beast is. If we are not careful, we will be destroyed no matter how strong our cultivation is. Shouldn't we reconsider the risk of hunting the Great Void Beast? Hee hee. Ao Xiang sneered. You don't need to interfere with my decision. I hereby announce the start of the second round of assessment. With that, Ao Xiang struck a seal towards the gate of Great Void. A crack slowly opened up on the tightly shut gate of Great Void. The group of competitors that Ao Xiang had brought along charged in without a word. Even if the rest of the contestants had objections, they did not dare to delay and could only brace themselves and rush in. Su Yu's eyes flickered and he said, "Let's go." Shui Guanyin clenched her teeth and followed Su Yu into the Taishu Gate. A vast world of nothingness entered his field of vision. It was pitch black and silent, and it represented absolute death. A lone island stood in the middle of the nothingness. That was the birthplace of the Beixin bloodline, the Taishu Lone Island. It was isolated from the rest of the world and could only be reached through the Taishu Gate. It was rarely disturbed by the outside world. Because of that, it produced a large number of tyrannical creatures, including the Beixin bloodline, one of the 10 great bloodlines of the Great Yu civilization. However, even the powerful Beixin bloodline had a natural enemy on the Lone Island. The Great Void Beast. It was a strange beast that was born on the edge of the Lone Island. It had the physical form of a living creature and the characteristics of nothingness. It could spit out the power of nothingness and crush everything that came close to it. Apart from the divine warriors of the universe, anyone who was hit by the power of nothingness had no way to survive. Although the Baishin bloodline was powerful, they could not defeat the Great Void Beast. They were often treated as nourishment by the Great Void Beast and hunted down the people of the Baishin bloodline. The above information was recorded on the tree bark given to him by Huangfu Liang. Gazing at the lone island in the distance, Su Yu let out a breath of turbid air. It's about to begin. In the sky above the lone island, a snow-white giant gate gradually appeared. From the gate, 10 paths of warm light converged and arrived in front of the 100 contestants. This was the only way to reach the lone island recorded on the tree bark. Swish! Swish! As soon as the entrance appeared, the strong people from all sides rushed to enter the lone island from different paths. Su Yu chose the middle path unhurriedly and stepped on it with the blood guanine. Just as he stepped on it, Su Yu looked back subconsciously. His gaze caught a very strange contestant among the many contestants. He was wearing a mask made of white bones of an extremely high grade and could not be seen through. His whole body was exuding a very dense aura of death. His whole person gave off an extremely ominous feeling. Su Yu slightly narrowed his eyes. He did not know why, but this person gave him a sense of déjà vu, as if he had seen him somewhere before. The person sensed Su Yu's gaze and looked at him. Under the mask, a pair of deathly pale eyes reflected in Su Yu's eyes. Where have I seen him before? Su Yu's eyes flickered as he watched the person step onto the lone island from another path. The Great Void Hidden Dragon Tournament doesn't look like it will be very peaceful, Su Yu muttered softly. There had been a change in the city amongst the clouds and an unknown aura of death had infiltrated. Curling his lips, Su Yu stepped inside. Passing through the snow-white gate, what entered his eyes was a flourishing spiritual land with dense divine energy. With a casual glance, he could see countless spiritual objects of the universe. White tuo cold grass, dried algae mud root, leafless ginseng. The blood guanine's beautiful eyes blinked again and again, her eyes filled with shock. It's hard to imagine that these spiritual objects would be high-grade spiritual objects that people would fight for in the Sea of Constellations civilization. But on this lone island they are weeds that can be seen everywhere. TSK, the place suppressed by the Baishin King's Cauldron is indeed different. If I were to enter the top 3 of the Great Void Hidden Dragon Tournament, I would have the opportunity to comprehend within. Just thinking about the effects of that would be terrifying. A look of longing rippled across her cheeks. Then, she laughed at herself. But I don't have to dream anymore. I'm doomed to lose the competition among the geniuses of the Baishin King's fief. Not to mention the Golden Overlord, even the innumerable glazed crystal overlords would be enough to make her suffer, let alone the numerous peak overlords. How could she possibly occupy the top 9 spots? Have you forgotten to change your oath so quickly? Su Yu asked. The blood guanine was startled. She clenched her fists, her eyes filled with determination. Man can conquer nature. If I give up before the first battle, I will really be giving up on myself. It's good that you think that way. Let's go and hunt the Great Void Beast. Su Yu's eyes turned, and a giant eye appeared in the sky, searching for the Great Void Beasts on a large scale. Nothing could hide from the heavenly eye. Su Yu immediately discovered that there were 2 accompanying Great Void Beasts nearby, and they were jointly attacking a participant who had been accidentally teleported near them. That was a peak gold overlord, who was hastily dealing with 2 level 1 Great Void Beasts. The Great Void Beasts immediately launched an attack, each opening their mouths to spit out a mass of void energy. The Golden Overlord dodged it nimbly, but was accidentally contaminated by a trace of it. As a result, it was turned into dust by the void energy on the spot. Seeing this, Su Yu's eyelids twitched. The cultivation of the 2 level 1 Great Void Beasts was only at the Silver Overlord level, but it was a piece of cake for them to kill a peak Gold Overlord. Killing such great void beasts required extreme caution. Su Yu's eyes turned, and he hurried over with the blood guanine. The great void beasts were very sensitive, and they detected Su Yu's arrival from far away. They spat out a mass of void energy across the air. As Su Yu's figure retreated, he threw out the heavenly orchid silver bamboo fruit. A powerful suction force instantly swallowed up the power of nothingness. Su Yu heaved a sigh of relief, and he grabbed the heavenly orchid silver bamboo fruit. His confidence was boosted. Fortunately, the heavenly orchid silver bamboo fruit can even absorb the void energy. Although our cultivation is not as good, we might be able to catch up with others by relying on this object. Sizzle! The two great void beasts spat out another two masses of void energy. Su Yu's eyes turned cold, and he waved the Azura sword in his hand. Demon Master World! Boom! The two great void beasts were killed instantly, and their corpses fell to the ground. Let's go, Su Yu said. The blood guanine was stunned. You don't want the corpses of the great void beasts anymore? The final ranking will be based on the number of corpses of the great void beasts that you bring back. Su Yu shook his head. They are only level 1, and no matter how many there are, they won't be of any use if they are not of high quality. The blood guanine was speechless, and she thought to herself, how ambitious are you? Although there are more than 100 contestants, some of them might not even be able to kill a single great void beast. For example, not only did he fail to kill a great void beast, but he also lost his life. In the end, Su Yu treated them like trash, and didn't want them at all. Not long after they left, several figures rushed over, and one of them was the Holy Maiden of the Joyous Holy Ground. She sucked the two great void beasts into her palm, and her eyes were filled with surprise. That's strange. Someone killed the great void beasts, but didn't care about them. Holy Maiden, you worry too much. How difficult is it to kill a great void beast? Even the geniuses brought by Bei Wangchen wouldn't give up on a level 1 great void beast so easily. I think someone must have killed them before they could clean them up. Holy Maiden, please look, there is a pile of ashes on the ground. The Holy Maiden looked at the ashes carefully, and she agreed with his explanation. She then said with a sweet smile, "Hee, in that case, I'm quite lucky to have found a treasure as soon as I came here. Let's go. Let's continue." The Holy Maiden said, "If we run into that human called Su Yu, we can give these two to him. With his strength, I'm afraid he can't even kill a level 1 great void beast." Countless mountains and rivers away, Su Yu and the blood guanine were hiding in the messy stone forest. A creature that looked like a lion was squatting on a giant stone not far away. Its whole body was pitch black, and it was emitting wisps of void energy. A great void beast. Moreover, it was a level 2 great void beast. Its cultivation was at the level of a glazed crystal overlord, and together with the void energy, even a peak overlord would find it difficult to deal with it. Brother Su Yu, you take the front, and I'll take the back. I'll attract his attention, and you use your powerful divine technique," the blood guanine said quietly. Unexpectedly, Su Yu dashed out with a swoosh, and he was going to fight it head-on. The blood guanine's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. The opponent was a great void beast, and its cultivation was at the level of a glazed crystal overlord. Was it courting death to rush forward like that? The fifth style of the demonic sword, the demonic birth of the heart. Su Yu yelled, and the Azura sword in his hand released endless pitch-black demonic flames. The sword slashed down, and the demonic flames floated. The blood guanine suddenly felt her heart beat faster, and her soul was restless. The world in front of her was rapidly distorted, and the ordinary environment turned into a place of hell's raging fire. She was suffering the torment of the raging fire in hell, and she was in so much pain that she couldn't help but hold her head and scream. Suddenly, the scene around her receded like the tide, and the pain from her soul quickly dissipated. The blood guanine opened her eyes in a daze, and what she saw was the back of Su Yu wiping the Azura sword. The level 2 great void beast, whose cultivation was at the level of a glazed crystal overlord, had been cut in half by the sword. You killed it?" The blood guanine couldn't believe her eyes. The glazed crystal overlord's great void beast was killed so easily. Suddenly, she remembered the pain she had just experienced, and asked in surprise, "Brother Suyu, what kind of swordsmanship are you practicing? Why is it so strange?" It wasn't targeted at her, but it made her fall into an illusion of endless pain. What kind of terrifying illusion would the targeted great void beast fall into? Under such circumstances, no matter how powerful the great void beast was, it wouldn't have been able to use it, and Suyu took advantage of the opportunity to slay it. What a terrifying swordsmanship! Suyu turned his head and smiled. "It's a swordsmanship given to me by an old friend, and I have some understanding of it. It's quite powerful." With a flick of the long sword, Suyu picked up the great void beast and threw it to the blood guanine. "Take it! You gave it to me? What about you?" The blood guanine was overwhelmed by the favor. Suyu said, "There's another one 3,000,000 miles away, and that's mine. Let's go." The blood guanine was stunned. Suyu's tone was completely carefree, as if it wasn't difficult at all. Half an hour later, at the lakeside 3,000,000 miles away, a huge white snake coiled on the shore, devouring the corpse of a participant whose strength was as high as that of a glazed crystal overlord. Its reddened eyes were full of excitement and greed. Near it there were several other participants' bodies. They weren't weak, and the weakest one was a golden overlord. It seemed like a group of people had besieged it, but they were all killed by the white snake. Sighing, Suyu attacked abruptly. With the birth of a demon, he cut down the endless illusion. The white snake was in the process of enjoying its spoils of war, and its mental state was the most relaxed. Caught off guard, it was immediately hit by the illusion. Its whole body stiffened, and it couldn't move. Only when Suyu chopped off its head with his sword did its huge body twist madly. "Humph!" Suyu snorted. With a point of the Azura sword, the white snake's head was crushed. Only then did the huge body gradually stop moving. Without hesitation, Suyu opened the space ring and prepared to keep the snake's body. Unexpectedly, right at that moment, several sharp sword formations suddenly appeared from the distant lake, slashing toward Suyu. The sword formations were strangely powerful. Suyu raised his brows and quickly retreated. In a short amount of time, the white snake's corpse on the ground was swept away by a space energy entering a space storage device. Walala! The lake water split open and 3 figures leaped out. Each of them had an elegant temperament, like a modest gentleman. Their abilities were so deep that it was shocking. The 3 gentlemen of the 1,000-water lake? The blood guanine's expression changed. The abilities of the 3 of them could be said to be top-notch, peak overlords. They were only a step away from becoming half a martial emperor. "Why did you snatch someone's belongings?" The blood guanine scolded first, secretly sending a message to Suyu. "Brother Suyu, the 3 gentlemen of the 1,000-water lake are not easy to deal with. In terms of temperament, they aren't any worse than the evil factions. Let's quickly escape." If the 3 of them hadn't seen Suyu in action, the birth of a demon could still take them by surprise. Chapter 1735. Snatch our possessions? Among the 3 gentlemen, the purple-robed scholar gently waved the fan in his hand. "This is our prey. We didn't blame you for snatching our prey, but how dare you claim that we snatched your possessions? You must know your shame, do you understand?" Shui Guanyin laughed angrily. They had obviously realized that the great void beast was too powerful and could destroy a team in an instant, so they didn't dare to attack. In the end, Suyu killed the great void beast with a single stroke of his sword, but they ran out and slandered Suyu for snatching their prey. They even taught them to know their shame. Simply shameless to the extreme. Win gentlemen, they are just 2 ordinary people. Why waste your breath lecturing them? The purple-robed scholar was called Win Gentleman by the green-robed scholar who had put away his brush. Haha, the painting gentleman is of noble character and unquestionable integrity. I admire you. Wind gentleman praised and laughed. Shui Guanyin rolled her eyes. Aren't you ashamed of flattering each other? How dare you call yourself a gentleman? You're more like the 3 villains of the 1,000-water lake. Although she was angry, she was very calm. She activated a secret technique from her sleeves. As soon as she finished speaking, she performed the technique. Blood Lotus Formation. The blood lotus under her feet transformed into 9 shadows, forming a circle and trapping the 3 gentlemen in the center. The shadows were connected to each other, and the blood light shone, blocking their vision. Brother Suyu, run! Divine power floated under Shui Guanyin's feet as she grabbed Suyu's shoulder. This technique was her secret technique for escaping, and it consumed a lot of divine power. She wouldn't use it unless it was a critical moment. Haha, with the array gentlemen here, it would be strange if you 2 juniors could escape. The white-robed scholar of the 3 gentlemen laughed strangely and shouted, formation-breaking technique. A pitch-black flag rotated in his palm, emitting a powerful black light. Wherever the black light swept past, the blood lotus phantoms were completely wiped out. The formation that trapped them was easily dispelled. Shui Guanyin's face sank. Among the 3 gentlemen, the array gentleman was the most difficult to deal with. He was good at breaking formations, and ordinary formations couldn't trap him at all. He was also very good at setting up formations. The sword formation that the 3 of them performed together was completed under the guidance of the array gentleman. Calming herself down, Blood Guanyin forced herself to calm down and said, "Don't go too far. We can give up on the level 2 Great Void Beast, but if you continue to be so aggressive, then don't blame us for fighting to the death." "Do you think you're qualified to fight to the death?" Gentleman Feng sneered. "Even the glazed crystal overlord doesn't have such a qualification, let alone you." His words were forcefully interrupted by Suyu, who had not spoken a word since the beginning. "Is that so? Since you are so powerful, why are you spouting so much nonsense and not daring to step forward?" Suyu said indifferently as he caressed the Azura sword in his hand. Wind Gentleman's expression turned cold. "You are really impatient to see the King of Hell. Since that's the case, I'll fulfill your wish. Demons are born from the heart." Suddenly, Suyu shouted loudly. Master Feng's expression changed drastically, and he retreated frantically. Painter Gentleman and Formation Gentleman hurriedly moved to the sides and shouted, "Get into formation!" The haughtiness on their faces was gone, replaced by fear. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The sword formation was immediately activated, protecting the 3 of them as if they were facing a formidable enemy. However, even though they were prepared, Suyu's sword did not strike. Suyu was toying with the Azura sword, laughing. "I was merely clearing my throat and shouting randomly. Why are the 3 high and mighty gentlemen so frightened?" Only then did Wind Gentleman realize that Suyu was intentionally scaring them. Annoyed and embarrassed, Wind Gentleman scolded from afar, "Brat, we 3 gentlemen are magnanimous and will not lower ourselves to your level. Now, we will give you a chance to pledge your loyalty to us." After hearing that, Suyu laughed, looking mockingly at them, who were hiding behind the sword formation. "Do you think you're qualified for me to pledge my loyalty to you with your looks?" The thickness of their skin was hilarious. Formation Gentleman waved his black flag, keeping the sword formation. He stared at Suyu. "Brat, since we have seen your sword techniques and still dare to show ourselves, we naturally have the confidence to completely subdue you." The 3 of them looked at each other, each taking out a heart that was emitting a thick demonic energy. The demon heart of the 9 serenities. You should recognize it, right? This is a rare divine item of the heavenly demon civilization. Swallowing it can grant immunity to some demonic technique. "Are you sure you can handle the 3 of us?" Formation Gentleman asked. Suyu's lips curled into a cold smile. "Then swallow it and try again. I don't mind playing along with you to the end." Formation Gentleman pinched the demonic heart, staring at Su Yu, hesitating to swallow it. What, you don't dare? Are you afraid of fighting for a long time and wasting 3 precious days? Or are you afraid of attracting a strong enemy? Su Yu's eyes were sharp, and he could see through their thoughts at a glance. Having their thoughts exposed, the 3 men's expressions changed. If they were to fight head-on, it would be no problem for them to join forces and kill Su Yu. But the time they wasted would be an unknown. Unfortunately, the most precious thing they had was time, and they only had 3 days. If you have no guts and no guts, then scram as far as you can. Su Yu sneered coldly. The 3 gentlemen were furious. If they were in the outside world, they would have joined forces to force Su Yu to death. But they were in the midst of the assessment. If Su Yu was unwilling to surrender, they had no time to waste. But they were extremely unwilling to let Su Yu go just like that. Su Yu's domineering sword technique had killed the great void beast with a single strike, and they were very tempted. If they could control Su Yu and use him for their use, coupled with their abilities, they could easily kill any second-grade great void beast. Gritting his teeth, the formation gentleman took out the grand void beast's carcass in a rather condescending manner. His solemn expression softened as he said, "Little brother Su, we have offended you earlier. Please forgive us. Take this grand void beast as our apology. I hope little brother Su will accept it." A Shui Guanyin was dumbfounded. She saw that the 2 sides were about to fight. Why were the murderous 3 gentlemen apologizing the moment he turned around? Wind gentleman and painting gentleman's facial muscles squirmed a few times, and they forced a smile. "We have offended you just now, and we hope you will forgive us." Su Yu was not at all surprised by their behavior, and he put away the second-grade great void beast's carcass. I am a magnanimous person, and I will not bother with insignificant people like you. I forgive you. Goodbye." Su Yu turned around and was about to leave. Blue veins popped on formation gentleman's forehead. He suppressed his anger and smiled apologetically. "Little brother Su, please wait." "Speak," Su Yu said without turning his head. Wind gentleman and painting gentleman clenched their fists. He was too arrogant, and his attitude made it seem like they were the ones begging him. Formation gentleman controlled his temper and said, "Little brother Su, you have a sword technique that can restrain great void beasts, and the 3 of us have the ability to clear the obstacles. Why don't we work together and hunt the second-grade great void beast? I believe that if we work together, we will reap great rewards." Hearing this, Su Yu snorted disdainfully. "Without you, I can easily kill second-grade great void beasts. Why should I bring you burdens?" Shui Guanyin laughed inwardly. It was unbelievable. No one could have imagined that 3 peak overlords would submit to humiliation and beg to form an alliance with a bronze overlord, only to be despised by the bronze overlord instead. If she had not seen it with her own eyes, she would have found it hard to believe that such a ridiculous thing could happen in this world. Wind gentleman finally could not take it anymore, and he bellowed, "Su, enough is enough. We 3 gentlemen have never done this before. If you are not satisfied, don't blame us for." Su Yu's eyes turned cold. "What do you want? Are you ready to fight?" "Sure, I'll keep you company." He gripped the Azura sword once again, and the 2 sides looked like they were about to clash again. Formation gentleman turned his head and glared at Wind gentleman. "Shut up. Don't be rude to little brother Su." He turned to Su Yu and said, "My brother was rude, I apologize on his behalf. If there's nothing else, I'll leave." Su Yu waved his hand and prepared to leave. Formation gentleman continued, "Maybe you're right, and you alone are enough to kill a second-grade great void beast. But what about a third-grade great void beast?" Su Yu narrowed his eyes. "You found traces of a third-grade great void beast?" Formation gentleman said, "We found it as soon as we arrived here, but because we discovered its existence, we distanced ourselves from it. A third-grade great void beast's physical cultivation was as high as a peak overlord's. Combined with the power of nothingness, Even 10 of the 1,000 water lakes 3 gentlemen working together might not be able to subdue it. However, if it was paired with Su Yu's domineering sword technique, the result would be different. Even if the sword technique could stun the third-grade Great Void Beast for a moment, it would be enough for the 3 of them to join forces and kill it. Su Yu was tempted. Second-grade Great Void Beasts were rare, but in terms of quality, third-grade Great Void Beasts were more reliable. If he could hunt one, he would surely enter the top 20. After a moment's deliberation, Su Yu nodded. "All right, but I have a condition. Please speak." Formation Gentleman was delighted. Su Yu pulled Shui Guanyin over and said, "My condition is that she comes with us, and she gets a share of whatever we obtain." A burden? The 3 gentlemen frowned, clearly unwilling. However, they had finally reached this point, so they naturally nodded in agreement. "No problem." After a brief exchange of glances, the 3 of them gave a clear answer. Shui Guanyin stared at Su Yu gratefully, but she clenched her fists tightly within her sleeves. Her pride was once again deeply hurt, second only to Empress Ziwei's provocation. Without sufficient strength, she would be despised wherever she went. An obsession to become stronger gradually rose in his heart. 2 hours later, in the ancient ruins tens of millions of miles away from the lake. This was originally a tribal city of Beixin's bloodline. One day, it was suddenly attacked by a third-grade Great Void Beast. Most of the strong men of Beixin's bloodline died in battle, and the rest fled. It became a ghost city, occupied by the Great Void Beast ever since. The 5 of them stood outside the ruins, and they could clearly feel the power of nothingness emanating from the surroundings. That third-grade Great Void Beast is beneath the ruins. "It's best if we strike first," Formation Gentleman said, immediately setting up a seal. With a flick of his sleeves, thousands of pitch-black flags flew out, surrounding the entire ruins. Wind Gentleman waved his fan, and 3 masses of compressed green stormy air masses hovered between his palms. Painting Gentleman continued to draw in the air, and a colorful giant mountain appeared out of thin air. It materialized from nothingness, and floated in the air above the ruins. The 3 of them, who were well prepared, were a little weak. It was obvious that they had given it their all. Su Yu was relieved. He pulled out the Azura sword and looked down at the ruins. His soul eyes penetrated through the layers of ruins, and he discovered the third-grade Great Void Beast hidden beneath the ruins. It was a giant rat with purple eyes all over its body. It had long discovered the existence of Su Yu and the others, and was hiding beneath the ruins, looking for the most opportune moment to attack them. While they were hunting it, it was also planning to hunt them for food. "Attack!" Formation Gentleman shouted. Wind Gentleman waved his fan, and a compressed stormy air mass fell upon the ruins. Whoosh! All of a sudden, the air mass exploded, and a boundless green gale burst forth from it. The entire ruins were instantly swept up into the sky, revealing the bottom of the ruins, and the giant rat that was hidden within. Painting Gentleman cooperated well. Almost at the same time as the ruins were swept away, he waved his brush, and the colorful mountain fell with a loud rumble, crashing onto the giant rat. The giant rat was caught off guard, and it was immediately angered by the attack. With an ear-piercing shriek, the purple eyes on its back overflowed with wisps of power of nothingness, shattering the giant mountain that was crushing it into nothingness. The sight sent chills down everyone's spines. As expected of a third-grade Great Void Beast. Not only could it spit power of nothingness from its mouth, but it could also overflow from its entire body. If they were to fight it head-on, any divine technique would be turned into nothingness by the power of nothingness. Was there any chance of winning in such a battle? Formation Gentleman shouted, "Suppression of the myriad formations!" Countless flags surrounding the ruins fell like a torrential storm, suppressing the giant rat. Sensing the danger, the giant rat quickly released the power of nothingness, turning one powerful formation flag after another into nothingness. Although there were many formation flags, none of them could get within 30 feet of the giant rat. The only thing was that the giant rat could not free itself to attack them. Formation Gentleman hurriedly said, "Brother Su, victory or defeat depends on this." Su Yu was already prepared. With them temporarily suppressing the third-grade Great Void Beast, it would be easier for Su Yu to attack. Otherwise, with the cultivation of the third-grade Great Void Beast, he would not even be qualified to approach it. Demonic birth from the heart. Su Yu waved his sword without hesitation. The intense demonic flame was extremely penetrating. Even a third-grade Great Void Beast could not help but fall into an illusion. In that moment of absent-mindedness, countless formation flags fell madly, suppressing the giant rat's body and forcing it to the ground. Formation Gentleman was overjoyed. He hurriedly shouted, "Wind Gentleman, Painting Gentleman, attack quickly!" The two of them were also overjoyed. One of them threw out the last compressed mass of air in his palm, while the other drew a new giant mountain. Their attacks, along with Su Yu's falling sword, struck the Great Void Beast together. Roar! With a roar, the giant rat's body was smashed into 3 pieces, and its soul was obliterated on the spot. The 3 gentlemen were overjoyed that they had smoothly killed the third-grade Great Void Beast. Su Yu's decision to join forces was the right one. Without that domineering demonic sword technique, they would not have been able to kill it. Swoosh! Swoosh! The group of them flew down quickly, surrounding the giant rat. Formation Gentleman laughed heartily. "Victory! With the 4 of us joining forces, we can wipe out all the third-grade Great Void Beasts on the island." His words made the 3 gentlemen's hearts race. Previously, they had found it difficult to kill the second-grade Great Void Beast, but after joining forces with Su Yu, killing the third-grade Great Void Beast was surprisingly smooth. Looking at the giant rat's body, the 3 of them were envious, and their eyes began to turn rapidly. Next, it was time to divide the spoils. A Great Void Beast could only be given to one person, but who should they give it to? While the 3 of them were still pondering, Su Yu had already unceremoniously stored the 3 parts of the corpse into a storage artifact. Wind Gentleman was immediately enraged, and his eyes darkened. "Su, what are you doing?" Formation Gentleman and Painting Gentleman also looked over with dissatisfaction. The third-grade Great Void Beast was dead, so they did not need Su Yu anymore. Chapter 1736. The 3 of them stared at Su Yu. "There is only one level 3 Great Void Beast. Should I give it to you, Formation Gentleman, Wind Gentleman, or Painting Gentleman?" Su Yu asked. The 3 gentlemen looked at each other with complicated expressions. Indeed, one level 3 Great Void Beast was useless, unless each of them had one. There are still many third-grade Great Void Beasts, and with our teamwork, if nothing unexpected happens, we should be able to get one before the end of the 3-day period. So, why should we limit ourselves to what is in front of us? Su Yu spoke casually. The 3 gentlemen fell silent. Wind Gentleman frowned and snorted. "Why should we give it to you? After we give it to you, will you still help us deal with level 3 Great Void Beasts?" Su Yu had just finished cleaning up the giant rat's corpse, but he did not take it. Instead, he threw it to Shueguanin. "For me." Shueguanin was flattered. Su Yu looked at the 3 gentlemen. "Is there a problem now?" Wind Gentleman twitched his mouth unwillingly, but did not question him any further. "All right. I'll trust you this time." "I hope you keep your word," Formation Gentleman said. Su Yu shrugged. "I'll be the last to get the level 3 Great Void Beast, okay? However, the level 2 Great Void Beasts we kill along the way belong to me." The quality of the hunting test was the first criterion. No matter how many level 2 Great Void Beasts they got, they could not compare to a level 3 Great Void Beast. The 3 gentlemen did not understand why Su Yu wanted the level 2 Great Void Beasts, but since he was willing to be the last to get the level 3 Great Void Beasts, it was better than nothing. "All right. There are several level 3 Great Void Beasts' nests nearby. Let's eliminate them one by one." The 3 gentlemen were in high spirits. As they expected, The nests they found next all contained level 3 great void beasts. They were the double-headed savage crocodile, the golden-crowned white-feathered eagle, and the one-eyed stone frog. With the help of Su Yu's demonic sword technique, the level 3 great void beasts were hunted very smoothly. Haha, the outcome of the second test has been decided. The 3 gentlemen have been selected. Formation Gentleman could not help but let out a long sigh. Wind Gentleman wiped the bloodstains on his face and recovered some of his divine power. He looked relaxed. I wonder how many people will be able to hunt the level 3 great void beasts. They had personally fought with level 3 great void beasts, so they knew how terrifying they were. Other than a half-step Sovereign Realm Master, almost no participant had absolute confidence in subduing these beasts, let alone killing them. Painting Gentleman raised his eyebrows and snorted coldly. Young Xie of Mount Brahma evil sect thinks highly of himself. Let's see how his hunting results compare to ours. They would never forget the humiliating experience of the Brahma Mountain evil sect forcing them to give up their best spot in front of the Great Void Gate. The other two's eyes flashed coldly. Even if he had the trump card to kill the Golden Virgin, he might not be able to kill a level 3 great void beast. At that moment they heard Su Yu say, "The 3 of you, there is still one more day. How about we continue to head towards the half-moon spring? According to the information we received, there is a level 3 great void beast called Moon Demon there." The 3 gentlemen exchanged glances and nodded slightly. Jinjunzi said, "Since you have kept your promise, the 3 of us will not go back on our words. We will help you hunt level 3 great void beasts." When he spoke, there was no expression on his face. However, upon closer inspection, one could see the sly smile hidden deep within his eyes. Su Yu was completely unaware of this, so he said, "Then I shall trouble the 3 of you." Jinjunzi said with a smile, "Little brother Su, you are too kind. We are just helping each other." 4 hours later, at the half-moon spring. The half-moon spring was located in a boundless desert. It was a tranquil spring that was shaped like a half-moon. Looking at it from afar, the spring was rippling gently. Green willows hung down in the shade, and it was exceptionally cool. It was hard to believe that such an oasis existed in the desert. Jinjunzi said, "That is where the moon demon is, the half-moon spring. Whenever the moonlight shines, the moon demon will appear and absorb the essence of the moon. That is the best time to kill it." Different from the other level 3 great void beasts, the moon demon was a beast formed by the condensation of moonlight. It usually hid in the half-moon spring and rarely showed itself. It would only appear when the moonlight shone. Feng Junzi looked at the sky. "There is still an hour before the moon appears. Let's make our preparations according to our previous arrangement." He waved his fan in succession, gathering 3 rapidly rotating balls of compressed green storms. Painting Junzi drew a line in the air, creating a giant colorful stone that floated in the middle of the half-moon lake. As before, the 3 of them were fully prepared. Once the moon demon appeared, it would immediately suppress it. Immediately after, Su Yu took the opportunity to use the demonic sword techniques to hypnotize it. The 3 gentlemen were fully prepared. Jinjunzi said, "Brother Su, please be prepared as well. The opportunity is fleeting. You must seize it." Su Yu nodded. "I understand." Taking out the Azura sword, Su Yu held it tightly in his palm. Once the moon demon appeared, he would cooperate with the 3 gentlemen to launch a powerful attack on it. Time passed slowly. Su Yu stared at the half-moon spring, his whole body fused with the desert, motionless. The moon rose slowly from the west. The gentle golden moonlight sprinkled on the emerald half-moon lake, covering the lake with a layer of golden brilliance. Splash! Under the illumination of the golden brilliance, the water of the half-moon lake rippled. A unicorn covered in moonlight slowly emerged from the water. It was exceptionally beautiful. That was the moon demon, a level 3 great void beast. It had been famous for a long time. Tens of thousands of years ago, during the Great Void Hidden Dragon battle, It was already a level 3 great void beast. Seeing Yu Yao appear, a Ray gentleman's eyes changed and he growled, "Wind gentleman, painting gentleman, do not hesitate. Attack." His loud shout would undoubtedly startle Yu Yao. Blood Guanyin was so angry that her nose was crooked. She actually made a commotion at this time. Was she doing it on purpose? She wasn't wrong. They were doing it on purpose. The formation flags, the storm, and the 5-colored mountains that had enveloped the half-moon lake were now flying toward Suyu. Boom, boom, boom. Endless rumbling sounds could be heard as Suyu was instantly bombarded by the storm. Blood Guanyin was shocked and angry. "You are despicable." She did not expect the 3 gentlemen to launch a sneak attack on Suyu at the critical moment. Array Master's expression was cold as he scoffed. "He's just a lowly ant, yet he made us, the 3 gentlemen of Thousand Water Lake, lower our heads and be humiliated. Shouldn't he be killed?" Feng Junzi had the deepest prejudice against Suyu. He laughed heartily. "He is finally dead. We can no longer swallow our anger." Blood Guanyin shouted angrily, "A bunch of shameless bastards." It was clear that they had a favor to ask of Suyu. She had humbled herself, but now she was blaming Suyu? The most disappointing thing was that Suyu had kept his promise and helped them obtain the 3rd-grade Great Void Beast. But what about them? After the deed was done, not only did they not keep their promise, but they also launched a sneak attack on Suyu. They were despicable to the core. "Hee, you should accompany him." Array Master laughed coldly, the corners of his mouth curving into a cruel arc. He casually threw out a formation flag and struck Blood Guanyin's chest. With a muffled groan, Blood Guanyin was destroyed by the restrictive power of the formation flag on the spot. Creak. The Array gentleman made a grabbing motion in the air and grabbed the space ring that contained the level 3 Great Void Beast. He laughed. "Ignorant fool. It was so easy to get rid of such a great threat. I thought it would take some effort. It can be said that he used his life to receive our teachings." Feng Junzi sneered. "This is the consequence of offending us 3 gentlemen." Roar. The huge commotion alarmed Yu Yao. Yu Yao opened his mouth and spat out a vast expanse of white blood light, which swept toward the 3 gentlemen. Their expressions changed slightly. "Retreat. Don't get entangled with the 3rd-grade Great Void Beast. Find a place and wait for the hunting assessment to end." Without Suyu's help, they were exceptionally weak in the face of the 3rd-grade Great Void Beast. They could not withstand even the slightest attack from the 3rd-grade Great Void Beasts. However, just as they were about to escape, a huge space light appeared around them and locked onto them. Space transfer? Array Master recognized it immediately. Sensing that he had been transported, his expression changed drastically. "Oh no, it's a space divine technique." He was extremely shocked. Where did this space divine technique come from? Before they could react, the space energy that had suddenly arrived not only pulled them into the oasis, but also pulled them 30 feet in front of Yu Yao. Yu Yao was obviously stunned and even subconsciously retreated in shock. But when he came to his senses, Yu Yao let out an excited and arrogant shout and spat out intense moonlight at close range. Array Master and the other 2 gentlemen were caught off guard and were sprayed by the moonlight. Enveloped by the moonlight, their bodies gradually melted and turned into white moonlight. Array Master's expression changed drastically. He yelled anxiously, "Give up the melted body parts and run." He gritted his teeth, his eyes filled with ruthlessness. He drew out a divine weapon and chopped off his moonlight chest. Divine blood splattered and Array Master's face contorted in pain. He clenched his teeth and retreated from the moonlight encirclement, trembling in pain. Wind Master was even more ruthless. His body was corroded by the moonlight and he had no choice but to crush a compressed storm. The powerful storm instantly minced all the flesh and blood on his body, leaving behind only a white skeleton. His soul was attached to the skeleton and he escaped with great difficulty. The most unlucky one was Painting Master, who was closest to Yu Yao and had blocked most of the moonlight. His whole body was sprayed and melted into moonlight on the spot. He did not even have time to scream. Third brother, Array Master and Wind Master, who had survived the disaster, let out mournful cries. The three of them had been inseparable for 100,000 years and were as close as brothers. But the third brother, Painting Master, had died so tragically. No, he had been murdered right in front of their eyes. Who framed us? Show yourself! Array Master roared at the sky. His roar shook the heavens and the earth, containing his extreme anger. Wind Master fanned himself, creating hundreds of compressed storms. His eyes were bloodshot like a wild beast. Hee. A familiar voice floated into their ears. In the words of Array Master, you are merely using your lives to receive some proper teachings. Array Master and Wind Master were stunned. They turned to look in shock. You're not dead. They saw the spot where the three peak overlords had just bombarded. After the smoke settled, an unscathed figure appeared. White hair, black eyes, a crown, and plain clothes. Who else could it be but Suyu? I'm sorry to disappoint you. I did not die as you had hoped, Suyu said calmly. The heavenly orchid silver bamboo sword in his palm retracted into his sleeve, and the azura sword fell into his palm. He had never trusted the three gentlemen and had always been on his guard. As expected, they did not keep their promise. Chapter 1737. They were using Suyu, but wasn't Suyu also using them? Without the help of the three peak overlords, it would be difficult for Suyu to kill the level 3 Great Void Beast by himself. Originally, Suyu didn't plan to take all the Great Void Beasts for himself. However, they had ulterior motives. Since that was the case, he could not blame Suyu for falling out with him. Demons are born from the heart. Suyu waved his sword horizontally. The surging demonic flames instantly brought them into a boundless illusory hell. After a brief moment of absent-mindedness, a purplish-black array flag shot out from Formation Gentleman's body. The array flags exploded on their own, releasing a soul-piercing sonic boom. Both Formation Gentleman and Wind Gentleman woke up and blocked the Shura Sect sword's blade in the nick of time. 10,000 Array Formation. Array Gentleman acted as though he was facing a level 3 Great Void Beast. His sleeves shook violently as he shot out thousands of array flags. The Azura sword's sharp edge cut through countless array flags in its path. It wasn't until hundreds of flags were destroyed that the momentum of the sword weakened and it finally stopped. At that moment, the Shura sword was only 1,000 feet away from the Formation Gentleman's neck. A large drop of cold sweat slid down Array Gentleman's forehead and dripped down along the tip of his nose, creating a few ripples in the half-moon lake. That was close. Array Master's pupils constricted. If he had been a moment later, he and Wind Gentleman would have died under this sword. Wind Gentleman's soul body trembled violently. Having survived the calamity, he hid behind Array Gentleman and screamed, "Array Gentleman, kill him! Kill him now!" Although he was wary of Suyu's demonic techniques, he was even more fearful after witnessing it for himself. The Array Gentleman took a deep breath and regained his composure. He looked at Suyu from afar. "It's a pity that you're just a hair's breadth away. This hair, you'll have to use your life to make up for it." The terrifying aura of a peak overlord was released rapidly, suppressing Suyu. At the same time, he formed a seal with his hands, and a steady stream of powerful formation flags flew out from his wide sleeves, covering half of the sky above the lake. "Brat, you are a rare genius in the way of the sword, but you shouldn't have offended the three of us. In your next life, remember to be smarter and hide your strength," Gentleman Jun said. With a flick of his fingers, he activated the formation flags that filled the sky. "You've hidden yourself well?" Suyu laughed softly. While he was laughing, his dark brown pupils had already changed silently, turning into a silver color. His black eyes and silver pupils made him look exceptionally noble. Puff, with a slight sound, 2 silver flames shot out from the 2 silver pupils, one on the left and one on the right. The 2 flames merged into one, forming a palm-sized silver bird, which flew over with a whoosh. The moment the silver bird appeared, the Array gentleman and the Wind gentleman, who were peak overlords, trembled violently. Especially Gentleman Wind's soul body, it was trembling uncontrollably, as if it was going to collapse at any moment. Array Master shouted, "Go!" Countless formation flags obeyed the order and shot forward. However, the silver bird was not a physical entity. It passed through the formation flag and with a sharp shriek, it passed through Gentleman Feng's soul body. Gentleman Wind's body quickly disintegrated, turning into pieces of soul fragments. The small silver bird sucked in all the soul fragments with its beak. Following that, the silver bird entered the Array gentleman's body without any obstruction. With a shrill cry of terror, the Array gentleman's body fell to the ground. With the Array gentleman's soul body in its beak, the small silver bird flew out of his body and landed on a rock by the shore. It grabbed the soul body and pinned it to the rock. Even though the Array gentleman's abilities were unparalleled, he was powerless before the small silver bird. "Su, what sorcery are you cultivating?" The Array gentleman's soul body let out a scream of terror. The silver bird had transformed into a small silver bird, capable of pulling the soul body of a peak overlord out of his body. The most shocking thing was that the small silver bird had a powerful ability to restrain souls. Pressed to the ground, the Array gentleman could not resist. Su crossed his arms in front of his chest, his expression calm. "Of course it's a hidden trump card, as you said." As Su spoke, the small silver bird pecked down with its sharp beak, devouring the Array gentleman's soul bit by bit. Not long after, the small silver bird happily spread its wings. The feathers on the surface of its body were clearly clearer than before. "Come back." Su smiled. The small silver bird turned back into 2 balls of flame and returned to the silver pupils. All of a sudden, Su's soul grew several times stronger. His soul strength, which was already at the level of a silver overlord, instantly reached the level of a gold overlord. "I didn't let you down." Su was satisfied with the power of his first attempt at the soul-devouring realm. He could devour the soul of a peak overlord without fail. Of course, the precondition was that the peak overlord was injured first and did not have any treasures or divine arts that could restrain the soul's secret technique. Su retracted his silver pupils and leaped around, finding 3 space storage devices from their corpses. After some thought, Su tossed one to Shuiguanin and said, "2 for each of us." Shuiguanin caught it and thought for a moment before tossing it back calmly. She shook her head and said, "Thank you, Brother Su. 1 is enough for me. It should be enough for me to rank in the top 20. Su did not hesitate and cleared out the 3 storage devices on the spot. Apart from the 3 level 3 great void beasts, there were also the lifetime resources of the 3 gentlemen of the Thousand Water Lake. Many of the rare divine objects of the constellation Ocean Civilization were in their possession. "The great void beasts are mine. You can have half of the resources," Su said. Shuiguanin did not refuse again. She smiled sweetly and said, "Thank you, Brother Su. How do you want me to repay you?" As she spoke, she deliberately approached Su. The refreshing fragrance of a young lady wafted into Su's nose, stirring his emotions. He looked sideways and saw a mischievous smile on Shuiguanin's face. She seemed to be teasing him, but there was a hint of shyness in her expression. Su smiled and teased her. He looked at her body, which had just begun to develop, and said, "How about giving yourself to me?" Swish. Shuiguanin's pretty face turned red immediately. She was at a loss of what to do. She stammered, "Brother Su, don't be like this. I'm cultivating a jade woman-type cultivation technique. I can't give it to you yet." After she finished speaking, she lowered her head and muttered, But, if Brother Su Yu really wants it, I can, about this maybe next time. Su Yu's face twitched unnaturally. He was just teasing her. Who would have thought that Shui Guanyin would really fall for him? Su Yu really did not want to be distracted by other emotions. It's almost time. Let's go back, Su Yu said as he stood up. Shui Guanyin swallowed the words that were on the tip of her tongue. She glared at Su Yu with some resentment and muttered, "Blockhead." But on second thought, even the holy maiden of the joyous union holy ground was defeated, so she felt relieved. Su Yu counted his harvest this time. There were 3 third-grade Great Void Beasts, 38 second-grade Great Void Beasts, and 0 first-grade Great Void Beasts. Hence, he had requested the 3 gentlemen of the Thousand Water Lake to let Su Yu have all the level 2 Great Void Beasts that he had killed during the hunt. If they were unable to capture enough level 3 Great Void Beasts, they would have to use enough level 2 Great Void Beasts to secure a spot in the top 20. With so many Great Void Beasts, it should be more than enough to get into the top 10, right? Su Yu felt relieved. As several rays of light descended and enveloped their bodies, Su Yu and Shui Guanyin were transported back to the door of the Great Void. Looking around, out of the initial 100 or so people who entered, there were less than 60 people left. The rest were all buried on the isolated island. Haha, congratulations on coming back alive. The incarnation of Bei Wangchen's arrogance put on a fake smile and said, "Then, those who did not manage to hunt the Great Void Beast, please get lost." Such a contemptuous remark really aroused public anger. Let's get lost. If I had known that it would be an unreasonable and dangerous mission like hunting Great Void Beasts, I wouldn't have participated in the Hidden Void Dragon contest even if you begged me. Humph. The person who spoke had wounds all over his body, some of which looked extremely hideous. It was obvious that he had tried his best. I will leave too. A pretty woman with red eyes followed him and left reluctantly. All of you leave. They didn't treat us like humans at all. People left one after another, and in the end, there were only 40 people left. What a bunch of defeated dogs, Ao Xiang said disdainfully. He then turned to look at the crowd and said, "Then, take out your prey. Based on this ranking, the top 20 will enter the third segment of the test, and the rest will be eliminated." The crowd looked at each other, then slowly took out their prey. Most of them had hunted level 1 Great Void Beasts, and only a few of them had hunted level 3 Great Void Beasts. However, there were only a few of them. Su Yu observed them secretly and discovered that their prey was much lesser than he had imagined. There were only 4 people who had hunted level 3 Great Void Beasts, and there were only 5 of them, including him. This meant that it wouldn't be a problem for him to enter the top 5. After thinking for a moment, Su Yu didn't take out the level 3 Great Void Beasts, but 18 level 2 Great Void Beasts. With such a large number of prey, he could be ranked in the top 10, and his position wouldn't attract any attention. Hand them over. Bei Wang Ao Xiang said calmly. The people present then stepped forward and handed over their prey one by one. The first was a white-clothed man, who handed over a level 1 Great Void Beast. Ao Xiang didn't even look at him as he announced his fate calmly. Take some prizes and leave. You won't have a chance to enter the top 20. The white-clothed man hesitated for a moment, then bowed and said, I know I won't be able to enter the top 20, but I hope to be loyal to you from now on. Hee. The arrogant man glanced at him out of the corner of his eye, but didn't look at him directly. He chuckled and said, Do you know that I don't keep any useless people under my name? Creak. The white-clothed man clenched his fists and lowered his head. He cupped his fists at Ao Xiang silently, then turned around and left quietly. Bei Wangchen was really cruel. Su Yu thought to himself. As he recalled Xian Zhi's death, Su Yu felt that this man was even more unreliable. The next people presented more than 2 prey, but they were all level 1 Great Void Beasts. Ao Xiang's expression was indifferent, and he didn't look at them directly until a green-clothed female Taoist nun presented a level 2 Great Void Beast and 8 level 1 Great Void Beasts. Oh? Finally, someone useful has appeared. Ao Xiang tilted his head and sized up the female Taoist nun. Excitement appeared on the female Taoist nun's face when she heard that. Chapter 1738. The female Taoist nun's expression stiffened and she walked back with a desolate expression. Isn't that the Southern Wasteland's divine nun, Ding Kun? It's her. Her strength has long reached the peak of the mystic crystal overlord. It's really rare for her to be able to hunt a level 2 Great Void Beast. Who would have thought that such a famous figure is not worthy of Bei Wangchen's attention? Rumor has it that Bei Wangchen is extremely strict in selecting the guests behind the scenes. He would rather have nothing than to have someone substandard. It seems like the rumor is true. Next, Bei Wangchen said lazily. Following that, more and more level 2 Great Void Beasts were presented. The most powerful person presented 7 level 2 Great Void Beasts in one go, which shocked everyone. Ao Xiang was finally moved. He raised his eyes and looked at the other party. What's your name? Emotionless Saber Emperor. The person who had killed the 7 level 2 Great Void Beasts was none other than the merciless Blade Emperor, who had traveled together with Su Yu. Ao Xiang frowned slightly. In front of me, you are not qualified to be called an emperor. Remove the word emperor, and change your name to Heartless Saber. The emotionless Saber Monarch's eyes showed a slight struggle before he agreed. He said, Many thanks for bestowing the name, Prince. From now on, you're my guest behind the scenes, Proud Lord said with a smile. Heartless Saber Monarch was extremely excited when he heard this. When Empress Ziwei was taken away, he was also the one who was humiliated. Now, he had finally proven that he was not inferior to Empress Ziwei. When he returned to the crowd, his gaze fell upon Su Yu. His gaze was filled with provocation, as if he was saying, You didn't expect that I would hunt so many level 2 Great Void Beasts, did you? As for his provocation, Su Yu did not take it to heart and was not surprised at all. Although the merciless Blade King had not shown enough strength along the way, he was still the successor of a divine warrior of heaven and earth after all. How could he be lacking in hidden techniques? Next, Ao Xiang said indifferently. There were only a few people left who hadn't offered anything. Su Yu was one of them. Young man. A seductive voice that could make one's bones go numb sounded in his ears. Su Yu did not need to turn his head to know who it was. Casually taking a few steps to the side, Su Yu said, Saint Lady, please behave yourself. Hee, I like your serious look. You're so handsome. I really want to press you to the ground and do it. The Concord Saintess licked her lips, a look of regret on her face. It's a pity that I didn't meet you on the island, but I've been thinking about you. Look, didn't I bring back 2 prey for you? She took out 2 level 1 Great Void Beasts' corpses and presented them to Su Yu. She then said with a smile, You didn't get anything from the isolated island, did you? Here, I'll support you. At least you won't be so embarrassed. She assumed that the reason why Su Yu hadn't come forward yet was because of the lack of prey. Su Yu glanced at the 2 Great Void Beasts out of the corner of his eye, and he couldn't help but find them familiar. Why did it look like he had thrown it away? Shaking his head, Su Yu said, I'm sorry, but I don't need it. Take it back. The Concord Saintess was slightly surprised. Are you sure? She didn't think that Su Yu could kill many Great Void Beasts with his current cultivation. In fact, he might even barely kill a single Great Void Beast. Su Yu said coldly, Take it back. The Joyous Union Saintess retracted her hand, somewhat displeased. She lazily laughed, hee. The word hee was full of contempt. If you don't want it, I'll keep it for myself. The Joyous Union Saintess swayed her hips and walked forward step by step, presenting the prey to Su Yu with a smile. There were 13 level 2 Great Void Beasts. With such a large number of level 2 Great Void Beasts, it was a new record. The corners of Ao Xiang's mouth curled into a smile of approval. As expected of a member of the royal family of the Joyous Union civilization. Very good. I sincerely invite you to join me as a guest behind the scenes. The Joyous Union Saintess smiled sweetly. I'm willing. The Joyous Union Saintess rolled her eyes and said, Prince, I see that human is calm and confident. Why don't you take a look at his prey first? I believe it will definitely surprise you. Ao Xiang's sharp eyes locked onto Su Yu immediately. He sized him up and laughed mockingly. I've observed this person for a long time. He is indeed calm and composed. There are usually two types of people like him. The first type is a real expert, so he is confident and composed. The Joyous Union Saintess smiled sweetly. What about the second type? Ao Xiang leaned back on his throne and scrutinized Su Yu. He curled his lips and said, The second type is a good-for-nothing who is pretending to be strong. The Joyous Union Saintess covered her mouth and chuckled. Prince, which type do you think he is? Haha, won't you know once you take a look? Ao Xiang crooked his finger. You come here. Su Yu was pointed at, but his expression did not change. He said calmly, Are you talking to me? There is no one else but you. Ao Xiang was extremely arrogant. Bring out your prey and broaden my horizons. Everyone present opened their eyes wide. It's him? The evil force that assassinated competitors in the Ghost Swamp. Humph. He deserves to be humiliated by the Joyous Union Saintess. Haha, does he really think that the Joyous Union Saintess is interested in him? That's why he dares to embarrass her? How dare he reject her good intentions? Haha, women are the most vengeful, especially a peerless beauty like the Joyous Union Saintess. Tell me, how many prey can he bring out? TSK. How many can he bring out with his meager cultivation? Didn't you see that the 3 gentlemen of the 1,000-water lake will never come out? He's just a small bronze overlord. It's already a great fortune for him to come back alive. How many prey can you expect him to bring back? Haha, what if he hunts down a level 2 great void beast? Judging from the current situation, 1 level 2 great void beast can get him into the top 30. 3 or more will get him into the top 20. You're really naive. How can there be so many what-ifs in this world? Just watch, he'll most likely return empty-handed. As they watched, Su Yu walked out of the crowd and came before Ao Xiang. Bring out your prey. Ao Xiang's lips curled into a cold smile. Su Yu asked calmly, What do you want? How arrogant. Ao Xiang's expression became stern. Bring out all your prey. Oh. Su Yu's expression remained unchanged. He reached out and took out a level 2 great void beast from the space storage device. All of a sudden, the crowd erupted. Hiss! Oh my god! He really hunted down a level 2 great void beast. That's impossible. How did he manage to do it with his cultivation? Ao Xiang's lips were still curled into a cold smile. He opened his mouth and said, he wanted to say, just like that? But before he could finish his sentence, Su Yu took out another one. Ao Xiang swallowed the words that were on the tip of his tongue. He said, just like that, smack. Su Yu took out a third and threw it on the ground. Ao Xiang's face stiffened. He stared at Su Yu. 3? Barely. Smack. The fourth one. Ao Xiang was slightly angered. How many do you have? Bring them all out for me. I want to see how many you can take out. Smack. The 5th one. Smack. The 6th one. Smack. Ao Xiang's expression stiffened when the number of beasts reached 7. The heartless Saber Emperor clenched his fists indignantly. As for the Union Saint Lady, her face was full of shock. She stared at Su Yu with a gleam of astonishment in her eyes. As for the crowd, they were all dumbfounded as they looked at Su Yu, who was smashing the level 2 great void beasts' corpses one after another. Su Yu stopped and asked Ao Xiang, Do you want to continue? Chapter 1739. Everyone was shocked once more. The guests behind the scenes of Bei Wangchen are also divided into grades. That heartless saber monarch can only be ranked in the 9th grade. He is the lowest grade behind-the-scenes guest. People like the all-pleasure saintess can be ranked in the middle grade. As far as I know, there are only a few high-grade behind-the-scenes guests. That's why I'm surprised by Bei Wangchen's decision. Is he being serious or is he speaking out of anger? Of course it was said out of anger. How could a mere bronze overlord be qualified to be a high-level guest behind the scenes? I'm afraid the other princes and princesses will laugh at Bei Wangchen to death. Is that so? I feel that Bei Wangchen is serious. A youth with a head full of purple hair said thoughtfully, just as you have said, the other party is merely a bronze overlord. However, if this bronze overlord is able to do something that only a pinnacle overlord can do, don't you think that this kid's potential is extremely terrifying? As soon as he said that, everyone's heart shuddered. Yes, if the bronze overlord could really kill 13 level 2 great void beasts, then how terrifying would it be when it grew to become a peak overlord? If they didn't take in such a talented person with such great potential as soon as possible, were they going to hand him over to the enemy? Understanding Bei Wangchen's thoughts, the crowd exclaimed inwardly. It really isn't a coincidence that Bei Wangchen could become the strongest among all the princes. His shrewd and ruthless eyesight isn't something ordinary people can match. So, Bei Wangchen is trying to goad him into action. Bei Wangchen stared at Su Yu and asked coldly, "Why aren't you moving? Or is that all you are?" Su Yu paused for a moment before he took out 5 level 2 great void beasts. In addition to the previous 7, there were a total of 12 level 2 great void beasts. "This is all I have." Su Yu spread out his hands. The Union Saint Lady heaved a sigh of relief, but the way she stared at Su Yu was very different from before. There was a faint trace of fear, but also a deeper desire to possess him. The women of the Joyous Union Holy Ground paid particular attention to harvesting yang to nourish their yin. The stronger the man, the more yang qi they harvested, and the stronger their cultivation would be. Hee, after such a long time, I've finally found a prey that this saintess will use any means necessary to capture. The Concord saintess licked her lips, her eyes blazing. In the crowd, there were those who felt pity, and those who exclaimed in admiration. 12, hiss, unbelievable! It's hard to believe that all of these were killed by a puny bronze overlord like him. But it's a pity. I only need one more to meet Bei Wangchen's requirement and become his high-level guest behind the scenes. Sigh. It is indeed a pity that he missed the greatest opportunity of his life. 12 of them? Bei Wangchen stared at the prey on the ground and his ashen face gradually revealed a smile. He clapped his hands and laughed, "Ha ha, this is out of my expectation. Another dark horse has appeared in this year's Cosmic Hidden Dragon competition. This is truly a gift from the heavens." He looked at Su Yu, stood up, and said in a loud voice, "Tell me your name." "Su Yu." Bei Wangchen murmured. He didn't allow anyone to interfere. He waved his sleeve and wrote down 2 words in the sky, Su-yi. The name Su Yu is too ordinary and does not match your shocking potential. I will personally change your name to Su-yi, meaning number 1. Bei Wangchen smiled proudly. Only in this way is he worthy of my identity as a high-level guest behind the scenes. Everyone was extremely envious. In the end, he lowered his status and accepted Su Yu as a high-level guest behind the scenes. Su Yu put down the corpse of the great void beast, turned around and returned to the crowd. "Su-yi, come behind me. You are qualified to stand 30 feet behind me." Bei Wangchen waved his hand and said. Su Yu remained motionless, standing in the crowd without saying anything. "Su-yi, as my guest behind the scenes, do you know that you must always listen to your master's orders? I asked you to come, so listen to my orders now," Bei Wangchen said unhappily. Su Yu said indifferently, "Firstly, my name is Su Yu, the name that was born in this world. You are not qualified to change my name." Secondly, I am not your guest behind the scenes, and you are not my master. As soon as these two sentences were uttered, the crowd fell into a dead silence. After a long while, someone said in shock, He refused to become Bei Wangchen's guest behind the scenes? Isn't this crazy? How could someone refuse Bei Wangchen? Everyone was shocked, as no one had expected Su Yu to refuse. Bei Wangchen's eyes turned gloomy, and he said in a mysterious tone, You mean you refuse to pledge your loyalty to me? Su Yu said, You are not qualified to make me pledge my loyalty. The two of them looked at each other. Although both of them were calm, everyone could feel the oppressive atmosphere between them. Beads of murderous intent were released from Bei Wangchen's eyes. Fine, you are the first, and you will also be the last. After Bei Wangchen finished his sentence, he slowly closed his eyes and said, Next, bring me the prey. Everyone held their breaths, as they were afraid that they would disturb Bei Wangchen and be remembered by him. However, their eyes were filled with pity as they looked at Su Yu. Those who refuse Bei Wangchen's invitation never have a good ending. Back then, the Heaven's Pride King of the Sky Mountain Civilization, young Master Qijue, was extremely talented. He won the Great Void Hidden Dragon Crown and became famous for a period of time. Later on, he suddenly died because he refused Bei Wangchen's invitation and was killed by Bei Wangchen. I'm afraid this lad will follow in young Master Qijue's footsteps. While people were sighing and lamenting, the test continued. Let me do it. A good-looking woman stepped forward slowly. She took out a snow-white deer, which was exceptionally pure and holy. A level 3 great void beast? Someone recognized it immediately and exclaimed in shock. Hiss! How can a level 3 great void beast be killed? The cultivation of a level 3 great void beast is usually at the level of a peak overlord. Together with the horrifying power of nothingness, it is as difficult as defeating a half-world divine warrior. Is she one of the people brought here by Bei Wangchen? Wait, I think I have seen her before. She is the number 1 overlord of the Luoha civilization, a 1.5-star civilization. Her name is Luoshan. If it's her, then there's nothing strange about it. She's very strong and has already defeated a half-step sovereign realm expert many years ago. Unexpectedly, she also chose to follow Bei Wangchen. Luoshan smiled faintly. I did not disappoint you. I offer you a level 3 great void beast. Bei Wangchen, who had a gloomy expression, curled his lips into a smile. Great. As expected of Luoshan. You will be rewarded handsomely when we return. Thank you, Your Highness. Luoshan came to his back obediently. She looked proud of being valued by Bei Wangchen. Next, the other people brought by Bei Wangchen presented their prey one after another. Surprisingly, they all had a bountiful harvest. The lowest number of level 2 great void beasts was 3, and the highest was 14, which surpassed the Acacia Saint. What was more shocking was that this woman was stunningly beautiful and exceptionally elegant. She stood shoulder to shoulder with the Acacia Saint. The Acacia Saint, who was famous for her charm, was outshone by this woman. Haha, Ziwei is not bad either. Given time, she will surely break through the glazed crystal overlord's barrier. Bei Wangchen's eyes were full of admiration. The beautiful woman's cold and arrogant face was filled with respect. It is all thanks to your guidance. You will be rewarded when we return. Bei Wangchen was in high spirits. There was Luoshan and a beautiful woman who was not inferior to Su Yu. He could not help but be in high spirit. Who else has not presented their prey? Me. Shui Guanyin walked out of the crowd and came to Bei Wangchen. Bei Wangchen glanced at her. Golden Overlord? Well, hand over your prey and let me see. Shui Guanyin's space storage device was flicked, and 3 parts of the enormous white snake's carcass were thrown out and fell on the ground. Everyone's faces changed when they saw the carcass. Level 3 Great Void Beast? Hiss, here comes another genius girl who hides her strength. This year's Hidden Void Dragon competition is really weird. There are countless genius girls, and all of them are stunningly beautiful. On the other hand, the men are, Bei Wang-chen's pupils constricted. He could not help but be moved. He knew how difficult it was to hunt a level 3 great void beast. Great! Bei Wang-chen exclaimed. I didn't expect that apart from my Luoshan, there is someone else who can kill a level 3 great void beast. What is your name? He stared at Shui Guanyin with eyes full of admiration. Shui Guanyin did not answer. Instead, she turned to Su Yu and blinked her eyes playfully. Brother Su Yu, I will listen to you. Su Yu said, if you don't want your name to be changed, come back. She said to Bei Wang-chen apologetically, I'm sorry, Brother Su Yu told me not to talk to you. As she spoke, she turned around and came to Su Yu's side. Then, she stood behind him obediently, as if she would only listen to him. Bei Wang-chen's smile froze and turned cold gradually. Fine, I will remember all of you. Next, Bei Wang-chen snorted. Xiaoxia of the Mount Fan evil faction walked out of the crowd with a faint evil smile on his face. I am willing to serve you and teach some arrogant people a lesson. He took out a level 3 great void beast's corpse and placed it on the ground gently. It was another level 3 great void beast. The crowd was already numb to it. The Mount Fan evil faction is really unimaginable. First, they killed the Golden Maiden and intimidated the 3 gentlemen of the Thousand Water Lake. Now they have successfully hunted down a level 3 great void beast. It seems they are not simple. Yes, they must have a trump card. Bei Wang-chen sized him up and smiled. Welcome to my behind-the-scenes guest. Thank you, Prince. Xiaoxia glanced at Su Yu and Shui Guanyin with a smile. Anyone else? Bei Wang-chen asked indifferently. Waves of death energy came from the crowd. The crowd parted and made way for a young man with a sword wrapped in death energy. He stepped forward and threw down a level 3 great void beast. Then, he walked back without saying a word. He did not say a word from the beginning to the end. Another level 3 great void beast. Surprisingly, Bei Wang-chen frowned as he stared at the young man. He didn't try to recruit him. Fear could be seen in his eyes. After pondering for a while, Bei Wang-chen came back to his senses and said, the second segment of the exam has ended. The top 20, please step forward. He waved his sleeves and gathered the images of the 20 people with his divine energy. The top 4 were the strong men who had successfully hunted down level 3 great void beasts. Luoshan, Shui Guanyin, Xiaoxia, and the unknown death energy strong man. Empress Ziwei, the Union Saint, and Su Yu were the next. Su Yu was only ranked 7th. Those who were lucky enough to make it into the top 20 broke out in cold sweat. That was close. The competition this time is too intense. In the past, one only needed to kill 3 level 2 great void beasts to enter the top 20. This time, one can't enter without killing at least 8 level 2 great void beasts. Exactly. This time, there are many dark horses, and each one is more shocking than the last. Chapter 1740. Yes, it's time to test our strength. I wonder how many of those dark horses are the real deal. Bei Wang-chen sat back on his throne, looked at everyone with disdain and said, the third assessment, enter the cauldron. The rules of the third segment once again changed unexpectedly. The gate of Great Void opened again, revealing the lone island. What was different was that a purple glow had appeared in the center of the island. Under the illumination of the glow, a mysterious and noble purple cauldron stood towering like a human emperor. Looking at this cauldron, everyone's hearts trembled, and they felt as if they were ants facing a lofty world. Somehow, they felt the indescribably terrifying and powerful aura suppressed in the king's tripod. That was the fate of the Dew Empire that had been suppressed in one area. This time, you're not here to hunt great void beasts. You're here to kill each other. Anyone who can kill 2 people is qualified to enter the king's tripod. What? Everyone was enraged once again. What kind of bullsh*t assessment is this? I give up. You guys can play however you want. Yang Ming, who was ranked 20th, gave up on the spot. I give up too. What kind of joke is this? Exchanging pointers is one thing, but killing each other? What do you take me for? The 19th ranked person immediately gave up. They were here to look for opportunities, not to be stepping stones. With their strength, they would only be hunted down and killed if they really tried to hunt them down. This truly infuriated many people. Only a few people had sinister smiles on their faces, because this was exactly what they wanted. The cosmic hidden dragon is only meaningful now that the trash has left. Hee hee, is there anyone else who wants to scram? If not, let's begin. Bei Wangchen shouted coldly. The rest of the light glared at Su Yu, their gazes vicious and sinister. Xiao Xie, the Hehuan Saint Maiden, and Luotian, who had been instructed, all cast unfriendly looks at Su Yu. Shui Guanin's heart tightened. She hugged Su Yu's arm and said, "Brother Su Yu, let's make a long-term plan. They clearly want to make us their targets." Each of those three people was stronger than the three gentlemen of the 1,000-water lake. If he was surrounded and hunted by them, no matter how powerful Su Yu was, he would not be able to turn the situation around. Su Yu shook his head and asked, "What's there to be afraid of?" When he finished speaking, he dragged the blood guanine and stepped onto the isolated island. What was different from before was that no one was teleported separately. Instead, they were all teleported to the same place. Those who were slightly more alert fled like rabbits the moment their feet touched the ground. Those who were clumsy were killed before they could even react. Su Yu had just landed on the ground when he felt a gust of evil wind assaulting him from behind. Without hesitation, he turned his hand around and struck out with the demon born of mind. A muffled sound rang out and a life force was extinguished on the spot. He had successfully killed one person, and a small cauldron mark appeared between his brows. "Let's go." Su Yu carried the blood guanine and flapped the yin-yang wings of Supreme Pole. Not long after, the place was filled with blood and corpses. Apart from the few who had escaped in the beginning, the others who had not been able to escape were all killed. That lad with the surname Su escaped really quickly. My people were just about to catch him, but he killed them with a single sword strike. Xiao Xie's brows were sunken. It was obvious that he was afraid of Su Yu. Luotian nodded, a look of astonishment appeared in her eyes. There's also that stranger covered in death chi. He fled very quickly as well. The prince secretly told me to get rid of him. I'll chase after him. Hee hee, I'm still more interested in the boy with the surname Su. The Union Saint Maiden licked her lips and looked in Su Yu's direction. Thus, the crowd was divided into two groups. Luotian, the beautiful woman, and the others chased after the man with the death chi. Xiao Xie, the Union Saint Maiden, and a few evil faction members chased after Su Yu. The Union Saint Maiden took out the flying treasure, the peach blossom, and said with a smile, "The boy with the surname Su is quite fast. Unfortunately, he can't escape from the peach blossom mirror that I refined with pure yin energy." With a fling of her slender palm, the peach blossom grew in the wind and became 1,000 feet long. Everyone in splendid attire chased after Su Yu. Su Yu continuously teleported, heading straight for the Beixin King Cauldron. "Brother Su Yu, that is the Beixin King Cauldron. How are we going to get it?" Su Yu shook his head. "I don't know. The King Cauldron contains the destiny of the Du Empire, as well as the past kings of the Beixin lineage. How could it be easy to steal it?" Then, Blood Guanine pouted. "I really don't understand why the Chief Pavilion Master arranged an impossible task for us." Su Yu pondered and sighed. "Perhaps the Chief Pavilion Master doesn't want us to go back." The closer they got to the Beixin King Cauldron, the more difficult the task became. Without Su Yu's many trump cards, they would not have been able to get this far. "Don't want us to go back? What do you mean?" Blood Guanine was confused. Su Yu had a bad premonition and said, "I hope it's just my guess." Suddenly, Su Yu looked up at the heavenly eyes above his head and was slightly surprised. As expected of the Acacia civilization, in addition to the path of yin and yang, they are also very accomplished in the path of magical treasures. Humph, that Acacia saint won't stop until she gets Brother Su Yu. Brother Su Yu is really popular, Blood Guanyin teased. Su Yu smiled bitterly. I'd rather not be welcomed like this. They are catching up. Let's go to the vicinity of the Beixin King Cauldron. Most of the contestants should be gathered there. The chaos is more beneficial to us. Swoosh. Su Yu teleported away. The Acacia Saint and Xiao Xie closed in, quickly closing the distance. When the huge Beixin King Cauldron was right in front of them, the Peach Blossom Mirror caught up with Su Yu. Peach Blossom Tree Transference. The Acacia Saint shouted softly. Peach blossom trees emerged from the ground one after another, filling the endless mountains and rivers, dyeing the entire area pink. These peach blossom trees greatly obstructed one's line of sight. Su Yu's heavenly eyes were cut off. Ordinary vision could not penetrate the peach blossom forest. Illusory spell? Su Yu was slightly surprised. Hee, young man, you still haven't escaped from my grasp. The Acacia Saint's enchanting figure descended gracefully. Xiao Xie, who was full of evil energy, stood shoulder to shoulder, approaching Su Yu step by step. Defying the Crown Prince, you have a death wish. Both of them were powerful and extraordinary, especially the Acacia Saint. Su Yu had not been able to see through her cultivation. Acacia Saint, you watch from the side. Let me take care of Su Yu, Xiao Xie said with a sinister smile. The Acacia Saint smiled faintly. Why should I leave such an opportunity for you to make a contribution? You come from a 2-star civilization, so you should not be short of resources. I am in dire need of them. Xiao Xie tried to negotiate. The Acacia Saint shook her head resolutely. No, I will not stop until I have a taste of the man I like. In desperation, Xiao Xie could only say, then let's see who succeeds first. As soon as he finished speaking, Xiao Xie immediately rushed over. The terrifying aura of a peak overlord came crashing down like a huge wave. The Acacia Saint was slightly angered. Humph, stealing my man, you are courting death. She grabbed with her hand, and a lotus flew out from her palm. It wrapped around Xiao Xie, and she flew backward. The Acacia Saint lightly tapped the ground with her feet, and with a leap, she brushed past Xiao Xie, who was flying backward. She giggled. It seems like I have beaten you to it. Puff! However, the moment they brushed past, a small purple snake-shaped sword flew out of Xiao Xie's sleeve, piercing through the Acacia Saint's chest. Her whole body immediately turned purple, and she festered into a pool of muddy water. Ah! Divine water of corpse transformation. Xiao Xie, how did you get the divine item of the corpse clan? As she screamed, the Acacia Saint completely melted into a pool of stagnant water. Swish! Xiao Xie broke free from the lotus, and his lips curled into a deep evil smile. Hee, Acacia Saint, you are nothing more than this. Killing you is a piece of cake. The sudden change of events surprised Su Yu and Shui Guanyin. They were both guests behind the scenes of Bei Wangchun, so why did they suddenly kill each other? That was until the Acacia Saint revealed Xiao Xie's identity, the Corpse Clan. Xiao Xie was a spy sent by the Corpse Clan. Su Yu was shocked. The Corpse Clan's shadow even existed in the Du Empire? Xiao Xie glanced at Su Yu and Shui Guanyin with a sinister smile, and said mockingly, You two are lucky. My target is the Acacia Saint, this whore. Get lost, don't ruin my plans. It turned out that his target was never Su Yu, but the Acacia Saint. Su Yu retreated quietly, and together with Shui Guanyin, they slowly retreated out of the peach blossom forest that had already collapsed. Looking at the pool of muddy water on the ground, Xiao Xie chuckled. Getting rid of the Acacia Saint, I believe you will get a lot of rewards from the Corpse Kings, right? He bent down to collect a trace of the muddy water that the Acacia Saint had turned into with a jade artifact. Bring it back as a witness. Unexpectedly, just as he bent down from the muddy water, a sharp claw with ghastly nails suddenly stretched out and grabbed Xiao Xie's throat. As a peak overlord, he could not break free no matter how hard he tried. The sharp nails dug into his flesh bit by bit, until half of his neck was about to be squeezed off. Ugh! Ugh! Xiao Xie could not make a sound. He could only stare in horror at the peach tree that was gradually rising from the muddy water. On the peach tree, a stunning beauty with an enchanting figure was sitting elegantly. Who else could it be but the acacia saint? At this moment, her charm was nowhere to be seen. Instead, her eyes were cold as she stared at Xiao Xie. I never thought that the Corpse clan would dare to set foot in the Dew Empire. You are here for the Beixin King Cauldron, aren't you? Xiao Xie twisted his body and kept struggling. It's useless. Your essence has been absorbed by my peach blossom hand. You are already dead. As soon as I let go, you will immediately turn into ashes, the acacia saint said. Only then did Xiao Xie stop struggling and nod, agreeing with her guess. Then, in the ghost swamp, those who assassinated the contestants were actually your people? The acacia saint asked. Xiao Xie nodded. The acacia saint's eyes were cold as she slowly loosened her fingers. Who else is your companion? Is it that human? Xiao Xie's eyes turned and he actually nodded. I see, the acacia saint said coldly. I already felt that he was unusual. So he is from the Corpse clan. She loosened her hand, and Xiao Xie's body really started burning. Like withered wood, he burned into ashes. Corpse clan, huh? Humph, I cannot let you live. The acacia saint's red robe fluttered in the wind. Her long black hair danced in the wind, making her cold jade face look extremely stern. Swoosh! A red afterimage was left behind, along with a terrifying aura that was not inferior to Bei Wangchen's. Chapter 1741. The cultivation that she had concealed was actually this powerful. It was strange that with such strength, why was she willing to be Bei Wangchen's guest behind the scenes? Even stranger, with her strength, she had not successfully hunted a level 3 great void beast. Su Yu, who was completely unaware of this, and Shui Guanyin arrived within 1,000,000 miles of the Beixin King Cauldron. Through the heavenly eyes, he could see everything within 1,000,000 miles. The youth stood in front of the two corpses, slowly sheathing his sword. The tip of the sword was dripping with divine blood. Luotian and Empress Ziwei chased after the youth. Of course, Su Yu would not ignore that there were already several strong candidates lurking around the cauldron, eyeing Su Yu and Shui Guanyin. Screech! The shrill sound of something breaking through the air broke the silence. Finally, there were people who could not wait and chose to attack Su Yu and Shui Guanyin. A large number of snow-white sparks suddenly attacked Su Yu. Su Yu swept his sword without hesitation. Demon Moon revolving style. The arc-shaped sword energy swept out, blocking the dense white sparks for a moment. Shui Guanyin's eyes flashed, and her palms quickly formed a seal. Deliver all living beings from suffering. The light of mercy scattered from her body, and the stagnant sparks were all extinguished. Rustle! There were a few slight noises coming from the depths of the forest. They had chosen to escape. Su Yu's eyes were cold. Demons are born from the heart. The demonic flames surged down, pulling all the creatures within 100,000 feet into an illusion. Crack! Then, they were all swept and cut by the all-pervasive sword. When the dust settled, there were indeed 2 or 3 corpses lying among the broken branches and dead trees. One of them was dead, and the other 2 were dying and had lost the ability to resist. Su Yu touched his forehead. There were 2 small cauldron marks, and he had successfully passed the 3rd assessment. I'll leave the remaining 2 to you. Shui Guanyin smiled gratefully, and then her face turned cold as she decisively executed them. Since they attacked first, there was no need for her to be merciful. Soon, 2 small cauldron marks also appeared on her forehead. Putting away the Azura sword, Su Yu looked at the Beixin King Cauldron. We are the only ones left. the youth, Luotian, the beautiful woman, and the two of them. A total of 5 people. In the past, only the top 3 could enter the North Letter King Cauldron to comprehend. This time, anyone who killed 2 people could enter. The reason was probably because the third test was too cruel, which was why the time limit was extended. Let's go and take a look inside the Beixin Wang tripod, Suyu said. Not only did he want to comprehend it, but he also wanted to test if he could get the Beixin King Cauldron from the inside. Using the Tai Chi Yin Yang wings, the two came to the front of the Wang Ding in an instant. The incomparably huge Wang Ding stood in front of it, and it could not see the end of it. It would be difficult for an ordinary cavern world to contain such a huge object. Enter! Su Yu's figure flickered, arriving above the cauldron. There was a bronze lid above the king tripod, which sealed the top, leaving only a door of light and shadow. Su Yu and Shui Guanyin stepped into the door of light and shadow at the same time. The 2 small cauldron marks on their foreheads immediately reacted and projected 2 small cauldron projections onto the door of light and shadow. Only then did the gate of light and shadow dim down, revealing a colorful cave entrance. The majestic and profound nation Fate Chi swept out like a huge wave, causing one to feel reverence in their heart. The 2 of them stepped in and successfully entered the Beixin Wang tripod. The surrounding scenery changed, and when they opened their eyes, they saw a bronze statue. It was towering and huge, standing in the center of the colorful light. The statue had a majestic face and an extraordinary bearing, vaguely giving people great pressure. The founding emperor of the Du Empire. Shui Guanyin's eyes flickered with awe and admiration. He founded the Du civilization single-handedly, and forged the 9 cauldrons to suppress the fate of the empire, the legendary figure. Su Yu glanced at it briefly, and his eyes fell on the hands of the bronze statue. His hands were clasped, as if he was holding something, but upon closer inspection, his hands were empty. Is there something missing? Su Yu was slightly puzzled. But no matter what, he had come to the inside of the Beixin Wang tripod, and it was time to find a way to take it away. After looking around, Su Yu helplessly discovered that the inside of the Beixin Wang tripod was like a space world, and there was no way to start. Swish! At that moment, the outside world suddenly changed, and a strange aura poured in. A young man with a deathly aura was teleported inside. He had also successfully entered. Looking at this person, Su Yu was slightly vigilant. When they were hunting the great void beast, this person had glanced at him from afar, his eyes full of murderous intent. Moreover, Su Yu felt that this person was a little familiar, as if he had seen him somewhere before. After the deathly youth appeared, he also looked around. When he noticed Su Yu and Shui Guanyin, he was shocked at first, then his face turned cold, and his murderous intent was revealed. Brother Su Yu? What's wrong with this person? Shui Guanyin asked as she weaved signs with her hands. Since they had arrived at the Beixin Wang tripod, it meant that the assessment was over. Why did this person still look murderous? Su Yu shook his head. I don't know, but we cannot be hindered in our mission. He took out the Azura sword and pointed it at the other party. The deathly youth hugged the black iron sword and smiled coldly. Human, we meet again. But I didn't expect that the level 1 Cavern World Senior from back then had now become a strong contender for the Great Void Hidden Dragon. If the Queen knew about this, I wonder what she would think. He really did recognize him. Hearing the other party say the word Queen, Su Yu instantly remembered where he had seen this person. The civilization of the Sea of Constellations, a certain icy space in the Shui nation of the Northern Territory. When he had first discovered the ice coffin of the female corpse, this person had chased after it, but inexplicably retreated halfway. So it's you, the Corpse Clan, Su Yu said. He had never thought that the other party would travel thousands of miles just to hunt him down. Under the orders of the Lord, I will bring your head back. The deathly youth pulled out the black iron sword. The sword was surrounded by an incomparably powerful deathly energy. Su Yu coldly snorted. No matter who sent you, since you are here, don't even think of leaving. The Azura sword trembled, and a thick demonic flame instantly ignited. As the two of them were about to fight, two unfamiliar auras entered. They were none other than Luotian and the beautiful woman. After Luotian appeared, she immediately captured the aura of the deathly youth. Staring at the black iron sword that the other party had pulled out, she said, "The unique divine weapon of the Corpse Clan, the mystic skeleton black iron sword. No wonder the Crown Prince told me to kill you. He had seen through your identity as a member of the Corpse Clan." With a light snort, Luotian took out a pink peach blossom mirror and shone it in the air. The deathly youth was illuminated by the mirror. His whole body immediately emitted thick black smoke, as if he was scalded. Frowning, the deathly youth dodged and said coldly, "Don't get in the way. You should know the consequences of opposing the Corpse Clan." Luotian's expression was solemn as she said, "Everyone is responsible for killing the Corpse Clan. Ziwei, I will take the lead. You find an opportunity to use the divine talisman that the Crown Prince gave you. You must kill this person." "Yes," the beautiful woman said. She glanced at Su Yu and Shueguanin, then quickly looked away. A complicated look filled her eyes. Shueguanin stared at her, her eyes also complicated. Empress Ziwei. The beautiful woman was naturally Empress Ziwei, who had left with the young girl and joined Bei Wangchen. One followed Bei Wangchen from the cloud stairs. The other had no one to rely on, walking alone in the ghost swamp. Different paths, but the destination was the same. Even the enemy they were dealing with now was the same. Shueguanin's lips curled up. "Haha, looks like our paths are no different." Back then, the young housekeeper had said that her path would be different from theirs. Now, it seemed that there was no difference. Of course, Shueguanin would not forget that if it wasn't for Su Yu, she would have been eliminated in the first round of the assessment. Hence, as she looked at Su Yu's back, her eyes were especially gentle. Empress Ziwei was also a little unwilling. The former Shueguanin was not even half as good as she was, but now she was on equal footing. She took a deep look at Su Yu. Only an unfathomable man like him could have come all the way here while carrying a burden. An uncomfortable feeling lingered in her heart. She wanted to say something, but the enemy was right in front of her. She suppressed the words in her chest and said softly, "Let's kill the Corpse Clan first." 4 against 1, and there was a top expert like Luotian, who could kill a level 3 great void beast. Su Yu and Shueguanin looked at each other and attacked at the same time. Birth of the Demon. Salvation of all living beings. Bone Corpse subduing mirror. Meteorite ice tribulation. The strongest people of the Great Void Hidden Dragon attacked at the same time. The scene was earth-shattering. Even a level 3 Great Void Beast would retreat in fright. The Corpse Clan youth held the mystic skeleton black iron sword in his hand. His face was full of death energy, and he wore a cold expression. "He, let me show you the supreme corpse technique of the Corpse Clan." Creak. The mystic skeleton black iron sword suddenly emitted countless white flames. The combination of the black sword and the white flames was extremely mysterious. Mountain of corpses, blood bones. With a sweep of the sword, endless white flames engulfed the sky and earth, sweeping in all directions. Su Yu's demonic flames, Shueguanin's merciful light, Luotian's corpse subduing mirror light, and Empress Ziwei's cold ice were instantly burned into nothingness by the white flames. In a trance, the 4 of them saw countless mountains of corpses, blood, and bones engulfing their attacks. "Ziwei." Luotian's expression changed drastically, and she shouted anxiously. Empress Ziwei nodded and solemnly took out a talisman in the shape of a small golden sword. It contained a terrifying power of desolation. It was a talisman for the attack of a divine warrior of heaven and earth. The small sword flew out of her palm with a swoosh and turned into a golden light, slashing at the Corpse Clan youth. That sword was indomitable, and it would not turn back until it killed its target. Even though the target was not themselves, Su Yu and the others felt a sense of insignificance that made their hearts tremble. In front of this sword, there was no way they could escape death. However, the Corpse Clan youth's expression was cold and arrogant. If the divine warrior of heaven and earth were to come in person, I would still be a little afraid. But what can a mere talisman do to me? Boundless corpse domain. The Corpse Clan youth stabbed the mystic skeleton black iron sword into the ground. With the sword as the center, endless corpse energy immediately appeared, forming a dark, deathly silent area. This technique had a similar effect to Su Yu's white-haired corpse's boundless corpse domain. The small golden sword shot into it, and was immediately corroded and worn down by the black corpse energy. The indomitable small sword gradually lost its target, and finally began to rot, turning into a piece of waste paper stained with corpse energy. This scene made the eyelids of the four of them twitch. He resisted the blow of the divine warrior of heaven and earth with his own strength? The divine technique of the Corpse Clan was too strange and terrifying. Next, it's my turn. The Corpse Clan youth laughed sinisterly, and the mystic skeleton black iron sword released a terrifying aura of death. The aura of death was so dense that just a breath was enough to kill an ordinary bronze overlord. If he were to slash out with the sword, how powerful would it be? Everyone's hearts were beating wildly. But at this moment, another unfamiliar aura surged in. Peach blossom trees grew one after another near the Corpse Clan youth. The brilliant peach blossoms actively absorbed the aura of death in the area, rotting and withering on their own. But the peach blossoms bloomed again, and the cycle continued to devour the aura of death. Chapter 1742. This person's divine technique just happened to restrain the corpse technique of the Corpse Clan. Crack! All of a sudden, an ancient peach tree 1,000 feet thick sprang up from the ground. On the tree sat a graceful and gorgeous woman. She had a faint smile on her lips, which contrasted well with the beautiful peach blossoms. After the woman appeared, she grabbed the air, and the ancient peach tree's withered branches were like a human's palm, immediately imprisoning the youth with the deathly energy. The youth shook his body, releasing the deathly energy and corpse energy at the same time, rotting the withered branches. But as the withered branches rotted, another withered branch grew, completely unafraid of the terrible corpse energy and deathly energy. There is more than one person from the Corpse Clan. The graceful woman was the Hahuan saint who had rushed over. With a flick of her fingertip, a sharp withered branch pierced into the body of the youth, extracting his essence. The youth's expression changed drastically. He kept struggling, but the more he struggled, the more withered branches entangled him. In just a moment, he was entangled like a dumpling, and his essence was frantically absorbed by the ancient peach tree. The four of them watched in shock. Such a powerful Corpse Clan was so easily subdued by the Hahuan saint? Or rather, her divine technique just happened to restrain the Corpse Clan. After subduing the youth with the deathly energy, the Hahuan saint's beautiful eyes turned to Su Yu. Her once charming face was filled with a sneer. You really hid yourself well to actually deceive all of us. Su Yu was slightly puzzled. What did she mean by hiding? Strength? He vaguely had a bad feeling about this. Corpse Clan, the Hahuan saint shouted coldly. Capture him, I want to interrogate him personally. Shui Guanin's expression changed drastically, and she defended herself. Brother Su Yu is a human, he can't be from the Corpse Clan. Empress Ziwei's lips moved, but she did not say anything to defend herself. She did not know why, but there was something inside her that prevented her from speaking. The Hahuan saint laughed coldly. How could it be false when Xiaoxia said it himself? She stared at Su Yu and shouted, Among the three of you, if you don't capture him, you will be regarded as an accomplice of the Corpse Clan. After I suck this Corpse Clan dry, I will hunt you down to the end. The terrifying aura of a half-step divine warrior surged forward. The three of them shuddered. Only Shui Guanin clenched her teeth and stayed by Su Yu's side. Luotian's eyes flashed coldly as she stared at Su Yu and said, I don't care if you are from the Corpse Clan or not, we will capture you first. If you dare to resist, we will kill you without mercy. As soon as she finished speaking, her figure flashed and she immediately attacked. 9 hearts linked. Before Su Yu could make his move, the images of the 9 blood guanine leaped up. Luo Xin sneered in disdain, insignificant tricks. Break. With a point of her finger, a powerful and extraordinary beam of light broke through all the figures and headed straight for Shui Guanyin. Out of the way! Su Yu pushed him away and secretly used the heavenly orchid silver bamboo's fruit to devour the powerful light beam. At the same time, he swept out with his sword. Devil born from the heart! Luo Xin fell into a trance and fell into a daze. The Concord Saintess shouted, Wake up! Her tone contained a wondrous fluctuation that could suppress the absent-minded, causing Luo Xin to wake up in an instant and dodge the sword in time. Humph! Not a bad sword. Bewitching the mind and seizing the opportunity to strike. No wonder you could kill so many level 2 great void beasts. The Concord Saintess said mockingly, but it's a pity that you are displaying your slight skill in front of the Concord holy ground. Although the path of yin and yang of the Concord holy ground was the main path of cultivation, the bewitching and deciphering of bewitchment were also unparalleled in the world. Thank you, Saintess. Luo Xin heaved a sigh of relief. She looked at Su Yu with a solemn and murderous look in her eyes. You are courting death. Luotian's beautiful face was filled with murderous intent. She took out a small golden sword, which was a talisman given by Bei Wangchen. Go! The small talisman sword rose into the air and immediately slashed at Su Yu. Su Yu remained motionless, secretly squeezing the fruit tightly. He wasn't worried about his own safety. He was worried about how to seize this giant cauldron. A powerful and illegal Luotian was enough. With the interference of the Concord Saintess, who was half a step away from the heaven and earth divine warrior, it would be even more difficult. The small golden sword sped all the way, slashing at Su Yu within 1,000 feet of him. Su Yu was prepared. The moment the small sword exploded with power, he would use the fruit to absorb all the power. However, to Su Yu's surprise, when the small sword was about to approach Su Yu, its trajectory suddenly changed. It brushed past Su Yu and shot towards the Concord Saintess. Explode! At the same time, Luotian recited a spell and activated the small sword. The Concord Saintess was caught off guard and was immediately engulfed by the explosive power. The ancient peach tree was blasted into pieces, and the body of the Concord Saintess was blown into countless pieces, leaving only a scream echoing in the air. The Concord Saintess was dead. A strange smile appeared on Luotian's beautiful face. Haha, Saintess, I think you have misunderstood Xiaoxie's meaning. In fact, the other companion of the Corpse Clan that he pointed out was not Su Yu, but me. What? Shui Guanyin gasped. Empress Ziwei's expression changed drastically as well. She hurriedly stepped back and stared at Luotian with extreme vigilance. You are from the Corpse Clan? Aren't you afraid of the Crown Prince's wrath? Luotian turned to look at her and sneered. Poor thing, you have been brainwashed into a slave by Bei Wangchen. She could not be bothered with Empress Ziwei. With a light tap of her foot, the ancient peach tree that had been blasted into smithereens was blown away, revealing a figure standing within. The dead youth. Apart from a slight loss of essence, he was unharmed. Luotian said, The situation was unclear just now, so I had to attack you. Please forgive me if I have offended you. Now that the Concord Saintess had been eliminated, Luotian dared to treat him as a member of the Corpse Clan. The dead youth said, We are both people of the Corpse Clan, so it's all right. I still have to thank you for saving my life. May I know which faction of the Corpse Clan you are from? Luotian looked at Su Yu, then at Shui Guanyin. She smiled mysteriously. Just in case you should kill me first. Let's talk later. The dead youth grinned and looked at Su Yu. Haha, Su Yu, You didn't expect this, did you? Su Yu really did not expect Luotian to be from the Corpse Clan. Now, two extremely powerful members of the Corpse Clan were in control of the current situation. Su Yu's mind raced. Should he just give up like this? He had no clue how to seize the Beixin King Cauldron. However, at that moment, Luotian walked towards the bronze statue and sized it up. The founding emperor of the Du Empire, a great talent of his generation. Unfortunately, he encountered us, the Corpse Clan. The civilization he founded is destined to become a stepping stone for the Corpse Clan. As she spoke, she flew to the hands of the statue and shone the Dao Bone Corpse subduing mirror on the hand. A surprising scene appeared. Between the hands, which were originally empty, was a purple gold box. Inside the box, a rich, colorful light overflowed. That was the destiny of the Du Empire. Haha, this is the real Beixin King Cauldron. Luotian's eyes were filled with greed. Master, if you refine this item, you can use the destiny of the Du Empire to become the Double Crown Emperor. The dead youth turned his head and stared at the item. Luotian was vigilant. She smiled faintly. You and I both have our own task. If we are delayed, neither of us will have a good time. Hearing this, the dead youth hesitated for a moment before giving up on the Beixin King Cauldron and focusing on Su Yu. Su Yu, you can die now. Su Yu's attention was not on him at all, but on the small cauldron. It turned out that this was the real Beixin King Cauldron. Su Yu was overjoyed. He had searched far and wide for it, only to find it by chance. However, Luotian had already begun to take away the Beixin King Cauldron. She carefully opened the purple gold box, and a small cauldron the size of a palm came into view. It was emitting colorful light. With a suction of her palm, she was about to suck the small cauldron away. Su Yu was far away, and with the dead youth in the way, she couldn't snatch it for a moment. Bang! Suddenly, Luotian was bounced off by a thick, dead wood. Who is it? Luotian froze and turned pale with fright. The dead youth was also shocked. He turned his head to look, and his face instantly became extremely ugly. From under the bronze statue, an even older peach blossom tree grew. At the top of the tree stood the Union Saint Lady, who should have been crushed to pieces. Su Yu's pupils shrank. Including this time, she had been resurrected inexplicably for the second time. You are not dead? Luotian was shocked. The Union Saint Lady's face was ice-cold, and she was on the verge of a violent rage. Ha ha ha, your companion from the Corpse Clan was also surprised, so his essence was sucked dry, and so are you. Swoosh. Countless withered old branches whipped toward Luotian. Luotian's face changed dramatically, and she cried out in alarm, Save me! The dead youth gritted his teeth, pulled out the mystic skeleton black iron sword, and cut off some branches. He shouted, You and I will join forces. If they did not join forces, they wouldn't even be able to escape. The Union Saint Lady said angrily, I will bury you together. At the same time, she looked at Su Yu and shouted, The Corpse Clan is the common enemy of all living creatures. I have misunderstood you before, and I will make it up to you. Now, help me kill 2 of the Corpse Clan. Shui Guanyin snorted. Humph. Didn't you swear before that brother Su Yu is from the Corpse Clan? Thinking of her previous arrogance and comparing it to her current attitude, Shui Guanyin felt quite proud. The Union Saint Lady said, Shut up! I didn't ask you. Shui Guanyin was furious. She was about to refute, but Su Yu pressed down on her shoulder. He said, She is right. With a great enemy in front of us, we should put aside our personal grudges for now. Pulling out the Shura sword, Su Yu stepped forward. The demon arises from the heart. With a slash of the sword, endless demonic fire enveloped everyone, including the Union Saint Lady. The Union Saint Lady was furious. How could you? Oh no, you want to steal the Beixin King Cauldron. She suddenly realized. But Su Yu had already taken the opportunity to flash in front of the bronze statue. Together with the purple gold box, He stored the Beijing King Cauldron in the 9-jade spiritual pearl. Let's go. Then, Su Yu used the power of space to move Shui Guanyin and Empress Ziwei in front of him. He immediately used the yin-yang wings of Supreme Pole to teleport away. The Union Saint Lady was furious. How dare you trick me? She wanted to chase after him, but there were still 2 corpse clan members in front of her. She could only vent her anger on them. Die! Endless branches covered the sky and the earth, slowly wrapping them up. Finally, they were wrapped into 2 dumplings and hung on the peach tree. The Union Saint Lady was still angry. Damn brat! I don't believe you can escape. He could escape from the Taishu faction, but could he escape from Bei Wangchen's grasp? Although there was only one Ao Xiang, he was no match for Su Yu. Chapter 1743. Leaping out of the giant cauldron, Su Yu crossed the island and arrived at the Great Void Gate. Outside the door, Bei Wangchen was standing alone, looking down at the world with his head held high. Sensing the commotion from the Gate of Great Void, he looked down and said, You're out so soon? Did you escape? Whoosh! Su Yu brought the Blood Guanyin and Empress Ziwei out of the door of Great Void. It's you. Ao Xiang's face was filled with displeasure. He had expected that Su Yu would be the first batch of stepping stones to be eliminated. Who would have thought that he would be able to escape alive? When he looked closely, he discovered that not only him, but the Blood Guanyin had also been brought out. More importantly, Empress Ziwei, whom he was quite fond of, had also been brought along. Leaving the Great Void Gate early would be considered as forfeiting. Empress Ziwei had lost the right to compete for the Great Void Hidden Dragon. What's going on? Ao Xiang glared at Empress Ziwei. Empress Ziwei's red lips parted, but she looked at Su Yu's face, who was right in front of her, and said, I forfeit. That's not like you. Ao Xiang shook his head coldly. Empress Ziwei lowered her head and said, I have failed your highness, I am willing to accept the punishment. Looking up at the sky, Ao Xiang said in a low and deep voice, surrendering without a fight is what I hate the most. According to my rules, you should be expelled from my residence. Empress Ziwei's expression changed, and she pleaded, Please show mercy, your highness. Ziwei is wrong. Ziwei doesn't want to leave Prince's side. That panicked expression was not fake at all. Su Yu and the Blood Guanyin were unfamiliar with it. Was she still the Empress Ziwei they knew? After pondering for a long time, Ao Xiang slowly said, All right, I can make an exception for you this time. However, if you want to continue following me, then go to the life and death cliff to temper yourself. If you can come back alive, then I'll consider taking you in again. Otherwise, go back to wherever you came from. Life and death cliff? Empress Ziwei's face was slightly pale, and there was undisguised fear in her eyes. However, she still gritted her teeth and said, All right, I'll go. Shui Guanyin was enraged and grabbed Empress Ziwei's collar. What's wrong with you? How did it become like this? The prideful goddess of the past was now humbly asking for shelter. She had always treated Empress Ziwei as her goal, and she was unable to accept the change in Empress Ziwei. Empress Ziwei glanced at her indifferently and said to Ao Xiang, Prince, to tell you the truth, we came from the same civilization, and I wish to send you 2 friends off. Approved. Ao Xiang waved his hands. In his eyes there were only strong martial artists. He had no interest in a loser like Su Yu, who had voluntarily forfeited. In fact, even the killing intent they had towards him before had vanished into thin air. Such a person was not worth his time. Let's go. Empress Ziwei led them into the ghost swamp expressionlessly. When they reached the periphery of the ghost marsh, Empress Ziwei stopped in her tracks. She pulled out her ice sword and drew a long crack on the ground between her and Su Yu. Our relationship ends here. She was clearly drawing a line between them. Su Yu had long felt that Empress Ziwei was acting strangely. Now that he had drawn the line, he was not so shocked. However, Shui Guanyin sneered, You're crazy. This is insane. I'm not crazy. Empress Ziwei's expression was sober. I just learned of my past self. How ignorant and insignificant I was. I should say that I'm awake. Then what about the imminent crisis of the Corpse Clan in the Sea of Constellations? What about your teacher, the Emperor of Shuiyu? Shui Guanyin asked. Empress Ziwei's expression was indifferent. To you, the crisis of the Sea of Constellations civilization is greater than the heavens. But from the perspective of the Diu Empire, it's just a small, insignificant wave in the vast ocean. I was once bound to the tiny civilization of the Sea of Constellations. Now that I've seen the Diu Empire and the Emperor of Men like Bei Wangchen, I've come to realize how narrow-minded I was in the past. My vision was limited to the tiny Sea of Constellations and the relationship between master and disciple. Suyu was shocked by the cold words he uttered. What had she experienced? She had changed so much. After pondering for a long time, Suyu said, I don't think the Diu Empire is everything, and I don't think Bei Wangchen is a dragon among men. There's always someone better than you. Your choice might not be wise, but I respect your decision for the sake of your help. Thank you, Empress Ziwei said proudly. Helping you is just to write off all the favors you owe me. Besides, I believe my choice to follow Bei Wangchen will help me go further and higher. Hehe, can he be more outstanding than Brother Suyu? Shui Guanyin snorted. Empress Ziwei shook her head and repeated Bei Wangchen's name with longing. No, you'll never understand how powerful Bei Wangchen is. At first, I also thought Suyu was the strongest heaven ruler I've ever seen. But it wasn't until I saw Bei Wangchen himself that I realized there was such an invincible emperor of heaven rulers in this world. In front of him, all the so-called geniuses are very cheap, including Suyu. She had been deeply convinced by Bei Wangchen and changed her faith. Suyu stared at her deeply and said, I'll ask you one last time. Are you coming with me, or are you staying? Staying. Empress Ziwei's words were concise and decisive. All right. Suyu did not try to persuade her. He pulled Shui Guanyin along and turned to step into the ghost swamp, never looking back. Empress Ziwei looked at them. A complicated look flashed across her eyes, but it was finally replaced by a sense of decisiveness and ruthlessness. Finally, let me remind you of something. My teacher, the Snow Dragon Emperor, is not as simple as you think, Empress Ziwei said. We've been teacher for many years, and I've never gotten within 10 feet of him. Every time I tried to get close, he would find a way to distance himself. Hearing her reminder, Shui Guanyin did not take it to heart. She secretly despised Suyu for betraying the Sea of Constellations and still daring to defame her teacher. Suyu was the only one who remembered it. Thank you. Suyu took out the bronze carriage and disappeared into the depths of the ghost swamp. Outside the great void door, the Concord Saint Lady was carrying the dying Luotian and the lifeless youth. She said, Crown Prince, capture 2 members of the Corpse Clan. Bei Wangchen snorted coldly. In the past tens of thousands of years, the nearby civilizations have not been peaceful. The shadows of the Corpse Clan have appeared from time to time. Even the Diu Empire has Corpse Clan members. Did they sneak into the Beixin King Cauldron to steal it? Yes, the Concord Saint Lady said. Bei Wangchen's eyes were cold. Is the cauldron safe? It's not safe. It has been stolen. The Concord Saint Lady's face was gloomy. Bei Wangchen's pupils shrank. What did you say? Who stole it? Suyu. Him? Bei Wangchen was obviously stunned for a moment. He immediately flew into a rage. Chase him. His face was extremely gloomy. Someone had stolen the important Beixin King Cauldron right under his nose. The Concord Saint Lady had a cold smile on her face. She said, Crown Prince, use my peach blossom treasure mirror. No matter how fast he is, he can't outrun this treasure. Let's go now, Ao Xiang said. A giant peach blossom blossomed, carrying the 2 of them straight toward Suyu. A few days later, Suyu ran along the path he came from. He was familiar with the path, and in just a few days, he had crossed the 1-month journey. He would be able to leave the Diu Empire in half a month. This is where I met the 9th prince of the Beixin King's mansion, North Wangting. I wonder how he is now, Shui Guanyin recalled. Only a few days had passed, but it felt like years. Su Yu's eyes flickered. He remembered that North Wangting had said that they had been attacked by evil spirits in the Sky City. The evil spirit's target was the Beixin King Cauldron. It seemed that Xiaoxia and Luotian, who had infiltrated the group, were one of the evil spirits. But where was the evil spirit of the divine warrior of heaven and earth? While he was thinking, Su Yu seemed to have sensed something. He released his heavenly eyes to investigate behind him. His face could not help but sink. As expected, they have caught up. Turning his gaze, Su Yu changed the direction of the bronze carriage and headed straight for the most dangerous central area of the Ghost Marsh. Brother Su Yu, are they pursuing us? But the central area of the Ghost Marsh is no joke. No one dares to cross the central area. The Ghost Marsh was known as a land of no return, largely because of how terrifying the central area was. It is precisely because of this that there is a need to go. Su Yu's eyes flickered. 2 days later, they arrived at the central area of the Ghost Marsh. A peach blossom bloomed in front of them and rapidly multiplied, turning millions of miles of mountains and rivers into a beautiful illusory formation. Hee hee, you have fallen into my hands again. Saint Concord giggled charmingly. Su Yu's expression was indifferent. He was not surprised at all. With their strength and magical treasures, it was only a matter of time before they caught up with Su Yu. Ao Xiang looked at Su Yu coldly, his whole body surging with murderous intent. There is no need to beg for mercy, because it is useless. Since ancient times, the creatures who have attacked the Beixin King Cauldron have either died or died in the process of dying. You are no exception. Do you need my help? Saint Concord asked. Ao Xiang said coldly, when I fight, I do not need outsiders. Stand aside. Ao Xiang crossed his arms in front of his chest and landed on the ground. He stared at Su Yu. You have 2 choices. Return the Beixin King Cauldron when you are alive, or I will take it when you are dead. Is there a difference? Su Yu asked. Ao Xiang smiled proudly. Of course there is. The former can be killed by me personally, while the latter can only die after being hit by me countless times. One would die a quick death, the other a painful death. This was the choice Ao Xiang had given Su Yu. No matter what, he could not escape death. Shaking his head, Su Yu said, if you were to come here in person, I might still be a little afraid of you. But if you're just a mere prime minister, perhaps that won't be enough. Arrogant, Ao Xiang said. In front of me, you have no right to be arrogant. Su Yu put away the Azura sword without batting an eyelid and took out the royal dragon sword. As soon as the sword appeared, it immediately burst forth with a terrifying dragon's might. After being tempered by the dragon power in the dragon pearl, Su Yu grasped the royal dragon sword even more easily. Although it was still difficult to wield the sword, it was far better than before. Slash. Su Yu used all the energy in his body to slash out half a style. However, even this half a style erupted with the terrifying power of a divine warrior of heaven and earth. Saint Concord was caught off guard. She was engulfed by the enormous dragon's might and died on the spot. Even Ao Xiang gritted his teeth and roared angrily, "What qualifications do you have to deserve such a divine sword? Give it to me." Ao Xiang was indeed incomparably powerful. He had actually withstood the dragon's might and seized the royal dragon sword. Su Yu was unmoved. He merely waved his wrist slightly, and an even more majestic dragon's might burst forth. Puff! Finally, Ao Xiang could not bear it any longer. He spat out blood and was sent flying. Su Yu's eyes were filled with an icy light. He grasped the sword and chased after Ao Xiang, slashing head-on. This slash was meant to destroy the extraordinarily powerful Ao Xiang. However, at the critical moment, 2 fingers shot out from the slanted ground and strangely flicked the royal authority dragon sword, blocking the unstoppable sword. At the same time, an unusually old voice floated into his ears. Chapter 1744. The kings of the Northern Kingdom had always been conferred by the Eastern royal family. The term of each king was only 100 million years. Many kings retired and lived in seclusion, guarding their ancestral land, the Great Void Island, before they passed away. Their only task was to guard the Cauldron. If anything happened to the Cauldron, the Dew Empire would be in danger. As a conferred king, he was on the verge of collapse, and it was difficult for him to escape death. Hearing the words of the mysterious elder, Su Yu sighed helplessly. I can't avoid this after all. After stealing the Cauldron, the retired king would not let it go easily. Buzz. As the lightning flashed, a translucent old man in a gray robe appeared. He was surrounded by thunder and lightning. His whole body was stained with the blood of the divine warriors of heaven and earth, which contained a shocking evil energy. In his left hand, he was holding the head of a ferocious evil spirit. Although he was dead, the evil energy that Xie Ling exuded was still terrifying. An evil spirit at the level of the divine warriors of heaven and earth? Su Yu was secretly shocked. Was this the evil spirit that chased after the north-gazing pavilion in the Ghost Swamp? No wonder Su Yu was not stopped when he stole the Northern Kingdom King Cauldron. It turned out that the retired divine warrior of the Northern Kingdom had gone to kill the evil spirit. Ao Xiang, who had been through the gates of hell, rushed over and bowed. Greetings, Pair King. The Huan saint wiped the divine blood from the corner of her mouth and flew over. She knelt down and said, Greetings, Pair King. He was indeed the former king of the Northern Kingdom King. What happened? The Pair King was not angry, and his king's aura was naturally revealed. Ao Xiang gritted his teeth and lowered his head, unable to speak. The Huan saint pointed at Su Yu and said, Pair King, this person colluded with the corpse race to steal the Northern Kingdom King Cauldron. She was still upset that Su Yu had abandoned her in the giant cauldron. It was indeed the corpse race. The Pair King looked at the evil spirit's head in his palm. Was it a trap? Creating a massacre of the Northern Kingdom King, luring out the Pair King, who was guarding the Northern Kingdom King Cauldron, and taking the opportunity to send the corpse race into the giant cauldron to steal the Northern Kingdom King Cauldron. Everything was planned and conspired against him. Pair King, you must eliminate this corpse race, the Concord Saintess said. The Pair King stared at Su Yu and said leisurely, Young man, if you surrender, you can die. Ao Xiang suddenly raised his head. Pair King Ancestor, how can you let this person go? Shut up, the Pair King said calmly. His formless aura forced Ao Xiang to lower his head again. Since the founding of the Dew Empire, we have adhered to the principle that all rivers return to the sea. Any talented person who is willing to join the Dew Empire can be used. The Pair King said, He was able to kill you with 2 strokes of his sword. He is very experienced. It would be a pity to kill such a talent. Ao Xiang revealed a fierce expression. He was unwilling. How could he lose to a mere bronze overlord? He was half a step into the Emperor realm. Pair King, I don't recognize his strength. So what if he borrowed the power of an extraordinary divine weapon? Does giving me the talisman of an emperor of heaven and earth mean that I am stronger than an ordinary emperor of heaven and earth? Ao Xiang asked. The Pair King looked at him in disappointment. You didn't lose unjustly. Up until now, you still don't understand what his divine weapon is. Even if you give it to me, you won't be able to use its full power. As a bystander, the Pair King saw everything clearly. He stared at Su Yu and said, Did you hear what I said? I don't care which faction you belong to. Even if it's the Corpse Clan, if you are willing to pledge allegiance to me, I will let bygones be bygones and give you great responsibilities. After living for 100 million years, the Pair King knew the importance of talent. Su Yu was tired of explaining whether he belonged to the corpse clan or not. What's the condition for me to pledge allegiance to you? You won't believe me just because of my words, will you? Su Yu asked. The Pear King shook his head. Of course not. To pledge allegiance to me, I will need to embed the blood guide of the Beixin bloodline in your soul. Su Yu was familiar with the blood guide. It was a way to control his enemies. Whoever had the blood guide could activate the power of the bloodline and kill Su Yu with a single thought. Unless the bloodline of the Beixin bloodline was completely destroyed, Su Yu would be a slave of the Beixin bloodline for generations to come. Such a method of control was even more vicious than ordinary control. I see, Su Yu said. The Pear King asked, then, what's your decision? Su Yu did not say a word. He held the royal scepter dragon sword again, and raised it slowly. He used his actions to show his attitude. The Pear King let out a long sigh. It's a pity that a bright future star has fallen just like this. That's not necessarily the case, Su Yu said calmly. The Pear King shook his head. If you could completely control this sword, I wouldn't be able to do anything to you. Unfortunately, there are no ifs. Su Yu shook his head. You misunderstood me. I wasn't talking about sword techniques, but, when the royal scepter dragon sword was raised, a jade talisman flew out of Su Yu's sleeves. The jade talisman shattered with a crack, and a faint sound erupted. A gentle, jade-like light shone in all directions. You want to leave? The Pear King's gray robe fluttered in the wind as he slapped his palm toward Su Yu. The terrifying power of the divine warrior of heaven and earth formed a giant palm that slapped toward Su Yu. In front of the divine warrior of heaven and earth, any overlord's divine techniques were useless and superfluous. However, the gentle light in front of Su Yu also formed a palm print, which collided with the giant palm. Bang! The palm print was shattered. The giant palm of light continued forward and slammed into the Pear King's body. The Pear King's face darkened. He waved his sleeves and took Ao Xiang and the joyful Union Saint away. After flying to a safe place, the Pear King's face turned grave. The divine warrior of double crowns? The gentle light swirled and formed a giant vortex, which looked like it could only fit one person at a time. Su Yu said, Xiao Yin, activate the jade talisman. The blood guanyin was prepared. She threw out the jade talisman, which formed a gentle light. Come back! The Pear King was shocked and flew over. However, the gentle light contained the mighty power of the divine warrior of double crowns. He couldn't get close to it, so he could only watch as Su Yu and the blood guanyin jumped into it and escaped. Damn it! Looking at the disappearing light, the Pear King was both shocked and angry. They planned this. Ao Xiang's face was extremely ugly. The Beixin royal cauldron had been taken away. Send a message to the entrance of the empire. Seal the border and don't let any living creatures enter. The Pear King's heart was heavy. The loss of one of the royal cauldrons of the Du Empire would definitely be shocking. Inform the Duke immediately. We have to inform the Dongfang royal family about this. The Dongfang royal family would definitely be furious after losing a tenth of the nation's destiny. Lastly, investigate the origins of those two people. We must get the royal cauldron back. Ao Xiang's eyes turned serious when he heard the last message. He shouted, Ziwei, tell us everything you know. Empress Ziwei lowered her head and said, Yes. 2 hours later. The border of the Du Empire was completely sealed. From the faraway center of the empire, the auras of the 9 divine warriors of heaven and earth appeared, rushing towards the Beixin royal family. At the same time, in the prince's mansion of the Beixin royal family, a young girl who claimed to be the housekeeper of the Beixin royal family held a jade talisman in her hand and bit her red lips. I can't believe I misjudged him. The real genius is not Ziwei, but that insignificant human. I don't believe he can defeat Bei Wangchen. I want to meet him personally. The light flickered and Su Yu and the blood guanyin appeared in a secret chamber. There were 4 meteorites prepared in the secret chamber. You two are finally here. I have been waiting for you for a long time. A quick-witted girl came out from a corner of the secret chamber. Suyu said, "You are—" The girl smiled sweetly and took out her identity token. Chief Pavilion Imperial Guard token? The Blood Guanyin was surprised. She looked at the girl and said, "Could you be one of the 9 great Imperial Guards of the Chief Pavilion, Jian Hongyang?" The Chief Pavilion of the Starry Pavilion was protected by the 9 great Imperial Guards all year round. One of them was Tan Lang, who had recently defected. The girl in front of them was one of them. Did this mean that this place was also personally arranged by the Chief Pavilion Master? The Chief Pavilion Master had long predicted their situation. Hence, the Jade Talisman not only contained offensive techniques but also a transportation function. Haha, the current leader of the younger generation of the Starry Pavilion, Blood Guanyin? I have long heard of your name, Jian Hongyang said. She turned to look at Suyu and looked at him carefully. Handsome as a mortal, with an extraordinary aura. You must be Mr. Suyu, whom the Chief Pavilion Master specially instructed us to treat with respect. Suyu nodded and looked around. Did the Chief Pavilion Master order you to wait here? Yes, how are the other 2? Jian Hongyang said. Blood Guanyin said angrily, "Don't mention them, 2 traitors." What happened? Jian Hongyang asked. Suyu said calmly, "We cannot stay here for long. If nothing unexpected happens, our pursuers will be here soon. Don't worry, the Starry Pavilion has operated this place for many years. No one knows about it," Jian Hongyang said. Suyu shook his head. "Aren't there 2 other people who know? They really defected?" Jian Hongyang was in disbelief. If that was the case, the Jade Talisman in their hands could also reach this place. "Let's go," Jian Hongyang said decisively. Suyu said, "Have you thought of a way out? If nothing unexpected happens, the border of the Dew Empire should be sealed." Jian Hongyang smiled proudly. "You underestimate the Starry Pavilion. How could we not have prepared a way out?" Soon, they left the secret room. Outside the secret room was a boundless void. It turned out that the secret room was built at the border of the Dew Empire. However, there was no exit at the border. Jian Hongyang took out the communication Jade Talisman and said, "We must leave immediately." Before long, the Jade Talisman received a reply. It was a voice that Suyu found familiar. "I have benefited from you for many years. I will settle this for you. Come over, I will let you leave quietly." Jian Hongyang smiled as she led Suyu and the others to the entrance of the Northern Territory. This was the entrance that Suyu and the others had come from. The incident of being harassed by the public prosecutor at the entrance was still fresh in their minds. The entrance was sealed, and the 2 sides were deserted. There was no one around. "Come over quickly." Suddenly, a sneaky old man poked his head out of the corner of the entrance and waved at them with extreme vigilance. Suyu was stunned when he saw this person. The white-robed old man who had inspected the entrance with Xian Ji was the person in front of them. The Starry Pavilion's years of operation had not gone to waste. They could even bribe the public prosecutor at the border. The white-robed old man led them to a corner of the entrance. There was a small crack that had been dug by someone. It seemed to be just big enough for one person to pass through. If it was concealed, it would be impossible to detect it. It looked like this was not the first time this old man had done something like this. This crack had existed for a long time. It was unknown how many benefits he had received, and how many suspicious people he had let pass through the Dew Empire. There were countless entrances and exits in the Dew Empire. How many public prosecutors were like him? If the Corpse Clan could sneak in, they must have colluded with the public prosecutor. With a sigh, Suyu and the others left through the crack. They used the 2 meteorites they had prepared to enter the boundless void. "Elder, I have a question," Suyu said. Jian Hongyang said, "Please speak." "How many Corpse Clan members are there?" Suyu asked. From the conversation between the youth and Luotian in the giant cauldron, he could tell that they belonged to different corpse clans. Moreover, they did not come from the Sea of Constellations. Jian Hongyang's expression changed slightly. She shook her head and said, I don't know. However, there are many corpse clans. The Sea of Constellations might not be the only place with them. Is that so? Suyu thought of the missing emperor corpse and the white-haired corpse, as well as the hidden second corpse king, the undying boy. His heart was filled with gloom. Not long after they entered the void, 2 light vortexes appeared in the secret room. 2 people walked out, one after the other. They were none other than the pair King and Ao Xiang. We're too late. The pair King looked around and his face darkened. Ao Xiang said, Don't worry. The border is sealed. They can't escape. We'll find them even if we have to dig 3 feet underground. The pair King said calmly, Do you think they have no way out if they could leave such a secret room? Let them open the border. There's no need to seal it anymore. We can go directly to the Sea of Constellations civilization. At the same time, at the border of the Dew Empire, on a meteorite floating at the edge of a cliff, a strong flood dragon with the head of a flood dragon was sitting cross-legged. His whole body was covered in dust as if he had been petrified. Suddenly, he opened his eyes and grinned. Brat, you're finally out. Let's see where you can run this time. With a sinister smile, the flood dragon disappeared into the void like a meteorite. What remained was the thick power of the divine warrior of heaven and earth. Su Yu steered the meteorite toward the Sea of Constellations civilization. He took out the purple gold wooden box and opened it to reveal a small cauldron surrounded by 5-colored energy. Is this the King Cauldron of the Dew Empire? Jian Hongyang's eyes were filled with shock. I didn't expect you to snatch the King Cauldron. Hiss, even the 3 pavilion masters might not be able to succeed. Su Yu shook his head. It's just that our cultivation is low, so it's not easy to alert the Beixin faction. It's nothing. Staring at the Beixin King Cauldron, Su Yu's eyes were filled with curiosity. The top 3 of the Great Void Hidden Dragons all have the opportunity to enter the King Cauldron and cultivate with the help of the destiny of the nation. The so-called Giant King Cauldron should be just the outer shell of this small cauldron. I wonder how it would be if we were to cultivate so close to this cauldron? Shui Guanin's heart was pounding, and she couldn't help but lick her lips. During the trip to the Dew Empire, she had suffered many setbacks. Shui Guanin's desire for power was far greater than before. She wouldn't let go of any opportunity to become stronger. What are we waiting for? Let's try it now. It's not a bad thing to absorb the destiny of the Dew Empire. However, Jian Hongyang stopped her hurriedly. She said solemnly, No. Shui Guanin was surprised. Why? Chapter 1745. Why do you say that? Su Yu was shocked. Jian Hongyang asked, Do you know what the kingdom's fate is? As he looked at the multicolored energy surrounding the small cauldron, Su Yu seemed to have understood something. The so-called fate of the nation is the Great Yu Empire's civilization core crystal. It includes the Great Yu Empire's heaven and earth spirit veins, rare treasures, and all sorts of opportunities. Jian Hongyang was very knowledgeable. Shui Guanin said, Since that's the case, absorbing it will be even more beneficial to us. Jian Hongyang nodded and said, Indeed. If the first emperor of the Dew Empire did not add the bloodline of the Eastern royal family into the civilization crystal. What do you mean? Blood Guanin said. Could it be that a civilization core crystal that has been tainted with the blood of the Eastern royal family cannot be absorbed? Jian Hongyang sighed. It's not that you can't absorb it, but after you absorb it, it will be assimilated by the Eastern royal family's bloodline in the core crystal and become a part of the core crystal. Hearing this, Su Yu was horrified. Shui Guanin stuck out her tongue. Then the corpse race that we encountered, the purpose of seizing this cauldron was to give it to the corpse king to refine. Could it be that the corpse king is not worried about being assimilated into a core crystal? What she said wasn't unreasonable. The purpose of Luotian's master was to refine the North Letter King Cauldron. That is the corpse race after all. There are too many inconceivable things that we living beings can't understand. Jian Hongyang also didn't really understand the reason. Is that so? Su Yu felt regretful. Out of caution, he gave up on absorbing the destiny of the nation. However, he still couldn't miss out on the opportunity to cultivate with the help of the nation's fortune. Opening the lid of the small cauldron, an invisible pressure enveloped Zhang Xian. It was as if they weren't facing a palm-sized cauldron, but the entire Du Empire. At the same time, the colorful fortune of the nation caused countless civilization information to automatically appear in one's mind. This information had an incomparably huge effect on their comprehension and cultivation. Brother Su Yu, I feel like the red lotus beneath my feet is showing signs of evolution after absorbing the destiny of the nation, Shui Guanyin said in disbelief. Not only would living beings benefit from it, but even Red Lotus would receive unimaginable benefit. Is that so? Su Yu fumbled around and took out the 10,000-year-old golden flames forbidden wood sword. Upon encountering the five-colored fate of the nation, the sword seemed to have come to life as it swelled and contracted. Every time it absorbed, a strange pattern would appear on the surface of the sword. At first glance, they looked like wooden veins, but upon closer inspection, they looked like runes. Brother Su Yu, what is that on your sword? Shui Guanyin asked curiously. Su Yu was also surprised. I've never seen it before. He tried to brush it with his finger, and the result was a bolt of golden lightning and flames. Hiss! The corners of Su Yu's mouth twitched, and he quickly retracted his hand. Su Yu forced out the remaining electric currents and flames from his body with his divine power. He was puzzled. Thunder fire? Its power is very ordinary. Strange, after devouring the nation's fortune, it only produced some insignificant mutation? In fact, he had secretly hoped that the golden flames forbidden would grow a heaven-defying fruit like the heavenly orchid silver bamboo. It was a pity that he only received such a weak change. Thunder flame? Jian Hongyang revealed a curious expression and said thoughtfully, I once saw some records about lightning fire in the Pavilion Master's private collection. She was exceptionally knowledgeable. As the saying goes, heavenly thunder and earthly fire. Thunder is born from the heavens, while fire originates from the earth. Under natural circumstances, the two rarely fuse. Only some living beings and cultivators will fuse the two together. The thunder fire in front of us is a natural fusion, which is very rare. Jian Hongyang said, the thunder fire that fuses naturally is called the boundless karma flame in that ancient book. It means that it is neither heavenly thunder nor earthly fire. Boundless karma flame? This was the first time Su Yu had heard such a name for thunder fire. The boundless karma flame also has a high and low level. The darker the color, the stronger the power. However, the golden boundless karma flame has never been recorded in the ancient book. Jian Hongyang was also puzzled. Su Yu pointed to the patterns on it and said, if more of the nation's fortune is absorbed, won't the thunder fire be stronger? If that was the case, the power of the thunder fire released by the sword that was covered with patterns should be even stronger, right? In theory, that is true. However, a weapon of the same level of nation's fortune will not absorb it again after absorbing it once, unless it finds a higher level of nation's fortune. Su Yu was disappointed. He looked at the useless thunder fire with a bitter smile and casually threw the golden flames forbidden wood into the 9 jade spiritual pearl. What he did not know was that after the sword entered the nursery, the golden flames forbidden wood that was still growing began to wither. Pieces of golden essence were peeled off from their bodies and integrated into the golden flames forbidden wood. The golden flames, emitted by the golden flames forbidden wood long sword, became more and more intense. They were extremely dazzling, illuminating the entire 9 jade spiritual pearl into a golden color. Then, with a cracking sound, cracks appeared on the surface of the golden flames forbidden wood long sword. As more and more golden light spots integrated into it, the cracks became denser and denser, until the entire body of the sword was densely covered with cracks. With a popping sound, all the cracks peeled off. The golden light that filled the sky also slowly faded away, revealing a brand new golden sword. Unlike the golden flames of the past, the golden flames forbidden wood sword now was crystal clear, as transparent as jade. The sleeping little Kylan seemed to feel something and opened its eyes. It stared at the golden jade sword in surprise and snorted. "Another good treasure wasted, humph." After saying that, it fell asleep again. Suyu, who was completely unaware of this, felt the majestic nation's fortune and said, "Elder, let's comprehend together." "Can I really? The imperial cauldron was painstakingly obtained by you." "I didn't do anything," Jian Hongyang said, her eyes full of excitement. Blood Guanyin smiled. "Lord Imperial Guard, don't be so humble. This much fortune is enough for all the creatures of the entire Sea of Constellations civilization to comprehend together." "How could I?" Jian Hongyang rubbed her hands together. Suyu smiled. "It won't be long before we return. Let's hurry." He closed his eyes and sat down, cultivating under the majestic nation's fortune. But in the moment of cultivation, Suyu immediately felt the door of the inner mansion in his body rapidly expand. "So magical?" Suyu suddenly opened his eyes, a look of disbelief on his face. Looking at Blood Guanyin and Jian Hongyang, they were both full of surprise. Obviously, their cultivation had also undergone great changes. Filled with excitement, Suyu seized the time to enter a state of cultivation. Time passed in a flash. In the blink of an eye, several months had passed. Looking from afar, the civilization of the ocean world was like a drop of water isolated in a world of nothingness and darkness. Beep beep. The meteor was about to reach its destination, automatically sending out a warning signal. Suyu and the others were all startled awake. "Ha ha ha, Crystal Overlord! I have finally broken through to Crystal Overlord." Blood Guanyin looked up to the sky and laughed, extremely excited. She had stayed in the realm of Golden Overlord for too long. She had finally broken through the shackles and reached the realm of Crystal Overlord. With such a cultivation level, she would have the power to fight a peak overlord again. Haha, if Empress Ziwei knew that I had reached Crystal Overlord before her, I wonder what she would think? Blood Guanyin thought to herself. She chose Bei Wangchen and gave up on Brother Suyu. That was destined to be the biggest mistake of her life. "Congratulations!" Jian Hongyang said with a smile, full of energy. Blood Guanyin sized her up and smiled. "Lord Imperial Guard, you are not bad too. Your aura is stronger than before. You are about to break through to Peak Overlord, right?" "Haha, thanks to you, I will be able to break through to Peak Overlord in a few more years of preparation." Jian Hongyang was extremely happy. "But the one who has improved the most should be him, right?" Blood Guanyin squatted down, her bright eyes looking at Suyu without blinking. At that moment, Suyu's whole body was reflecting light, emitting a jade-like luster. The aura of a golden overlord was naturally released. 2 levels in one go. Blood Guanyin laughed bitterly. "Back then, I spent 5 years and suffered a lot to break through from Bronze Overlord to Emperor Overlord. But Brother Suyu did it in one night." Jian Hongyang did not think much of it. How impressive is the destiny of the Du Empire! Even a Crystal Overlord like me almost broke through. It is normal for Bronze Overlords to break through to Golden Overlord. With this cauldron, he can easily create Golden Overlords in batches. Hearing this, the Blood Guanyin sucked in a cold breath. Yes, if a Bronze Overlord was watered by the Northern King Cauldron, it would definitely break through its shackles and reach the level of a Golden Overlord. Suyu slowly opened his eyes, spitting out a mouthful of black mist. These were the various impurities left in his body. Now that he had reached Golden Overlord, His internal injuries were all gone, turning into impurities that were expelled from his body. Phew! Golden Overlord? Suyu thought to himself. With the support of such a powerful divine power, using the royal power dragon sword should not be as difficult as before, right? What happened to our Constellation C civilization? Blood Guanyin looked around, suddenly noticing something strange. Following her gaze, Su Yu's expression changed. The Constellation C was a sea of purple. No matter where it was filled with purple light. Su Yu looked carefully, clearly seeing a purple star hanging in the sky above the Constellation C. Ancient star? Su Yu was shocked. Why was the ancient star floating in the air after being gone for almost 2 years? Jian Hongyang's expression also froze. Is there a change in the Constellation C? The three of them looked solemn as they leaped out of the fallen star and entered the Constellation C. Back to the Star Pavilion main pavilion. Jian Hongyang took out a door filled with water, bit the tip of her tongue, and spat out a mouthful of warm blood. The door of water immediately boiled, producing countless splashes of water. This was a top-notch transportation door that led directly to the Star Pavilion main pavilion. Only the Imperial Guards had access to it, and it was used at the most critical moment. Let's go, I'll bring you to the Chief Pavilion Master quickly, Jian Hongyang said. Su Yu nodded and stepped into the door of water. Before he left, he looked at the purple ancient star and suddenly felt his own thread of fate fluctuating. Is there a danger targeting me there? Su Yu frowned. Judging from the fluctuation of the thread of fate, the level of danger was not low. If there was no need, it would be better for him not to go near the ancient star. After passing through the door of water, Su Yu felt suffocated, and he appeared in a lake. Looking around, he saw the 9 familiar stars all around him. The Star Pavilion main pavilion. He was at the centermost star, which was surrounded by clouds all year round. This was where the Star Pavilion's chief pavilion master, Huangfu Liang, resided. However, the strange thing was, whether it was the 9 stars or the star where the chief pavilion master was, there was not a single living creature. Chapter 1746. Where are they? Jian Hongyang asked in fear. Shui Guanyin's eyes were filled with unease. As the strongest force in the Sea of Constellations, there were no living creatures in the Star Pavilion. This was not normal. In the 2 years that they had been gone, there must have been a huge change. Ma Ku, suddenly, a strange sound came from the depths of the star. Jian Hongyang's expression changed. It's the place where the chief pavilion master trains in seclusion. Whoosh! She immediately turned into a beam of light and flew over. Wait for me. As a member of the Star Pavilion, Shui Guanyin had the deepest feelings for him and immediately rushed over. Only Su Yu rubbed his chin, looking up at the purple ancient star as he leisurely followed behind them. Whoosh! After a few breaths, Jian Hongyang and Shui Guanyin arrived. It was an isolated Taoist temple on the edge of a cliff. The pines rustled with the sounds of nature, and the mist flowed through the air. This was where the chief pavilion master of the Star Pavilion trained in seclusion. Jian Hongyang headed straight for the tallest building in the Taoist temple. The chief pavilion master trained in seclusion here for 30,000 years. Who's inside? Jian Hongyang asked coldly as she stared at the wide-open door. It was pitch black inside, so dark that it made one feel uneasy. Ma Ku! A strange sound came from deep within the dark building. Thud, thud. At the same time, heavy footsteps could be heard. A faintly discernible figure walked out from the dark building. Ice Blade Guard. Jian Hongyang recognized this person, her expression joyful. She let down her guard and took a few quick steps forward. What happened? Why is there no one in the main pavilion? Roar! But suddenly, the Ice Blade Guard let out an inhuman roar, his entire body pouncing forward. Under the illumination of the purple light, Jian Hongyang could finally see his face clearly. How could that be the Ice Blade Guard? His entire body was festering, his eyes bloodshot and fierce. He had no self-awareness, like a beast acting on instinct. Jian Hongyang drew her sword in shock. Sword of the secular world. A ray of red sword light pierced through the Ice Blade Guard's body. The Ice Blade Guard did not feel anything. His body pounced forward unhindered, pushing Jian Hongyang to the ground. He opened his foul mouth, revealing sharp fangs as he bit down on her neck. Corpse transformation? Jian Hongyang said in shock. Wasn't the Ice Blade Guardsman's current appearance the same as that of the corpse race that had been transformed 30,000 years ago, as recorded in the ancient records? According to Gu Dian, once bitten by a corpse, the powerful corpse poison would immediately invade the converted person's body, wiping out their vitality and occupying their consciousness. At the critical moment, Jian Hongyang's body trembled and emitted boundless red golden light. Secular sword chi. Countless sword chi shot out, shaking off the Ice Blade Imperial Guards that were pouncing on her. Jian Hongyang took this opportunity to retreat 100 meters. Blood Guanyin, quickly retreat! She shouted as she protected Blood Guanyin behind her. Shui Guanyin was absent-minded. One of the 10 great Imperial Guards, the Ice Blade Imperial Guard, was reduced to the corpse race roar. An earth-shattering roar came from the depths of the Ming Tower. At the same time, 3 corpses with monstrous corpse chi rushed out. Damn the Imperial Guards! Divine Forbidden Guard! Yuanwu Imperial Guard! Jian Hongyang's pupils constricted as a monstrous wave rose in her heart. The 4 Imperial Guards had all been reduced to the corpse race. She no longer had the time to care about what had happened in the general pavilion. Instead, she should be concerned about whether she could leave this place alive. She was the weakest existence among the 10 Imperial Guards. Even if the 4 Imperial Guards were reduced to the corpse race and their overall strength was reduced, she was no match for them 4 against 1. Crack! The Ice Blade Imperial Guard roared angrily as he pulled out a shining ice blade from his palm and slashed at Jian Hongyang. The enormous sword chi was mixed with extreme coldness, freezing space and even time. Jian Hongyang's heart sank. As expected, they were still preserving their strength. The other 3 Imperial Guards also attacked at the same time. The most extreme thing was that they retained the tacit understanding they had when they were alive. The 4 of them joined forces to execute 4 powerful divine techniques. Jian Hongyang felt a life and death crisis and her eyelids twitched rapidly. Blood Guanyin, hurry and leave. She held her sword in front of her. The sword also sensed its master's danger and continuously hummed as it erupted with powerful sword chi. Unfortunately, such sword chi was only enough to block 1 Imperial Guard. 4 was far from enough. My 4 lords, forgive me for not being able to accompany you. I cannot become a corpse race with you. Seeing that she was about to die, Jian Hongyang slashed her sword upwards, aiming for her neck. Her sword could not only kill the body, it could also bury the soul. Ah! She gritted her teeth and let out a low roar, about to bury her body and soul. But right at this moment, a palm stretched out abruptly and grabbed her right hand that was holding the sword. Jian Hongyang's heart trembled. Who could get so close to her without her knowing? What shocked her even more was that this person had grabbed her right hand, preventing her hand from moving. Even when she fought against the strongest of the 10 great Imperial Guards, the Heavenly Foot Imperial Guard, she had never been in such a sorry state. Don't be in a hurry to die, it's not time yet. A familiar young voice entered her ears. Jian Hongyang's body trembled. It's you. She glanced sideways. It was none other than Su Yu. She could not believe that Su Yu, who had just broken through to the Golden Overlord, had such remarkable abilities. Letting go of her hand, Su Yu looked at the 4 former Imperial Guards. He held the Azura sword in one hand and swung it lightly. Demon born from the heart! The illusion enveloped the entire area, including Jian Hongyang. When she regained consciousness, a scene that caused her to gasp unfolded in front of her eyes. All 4 members of the corpse clan had been decapitated. Most importantly, their heads had been sliced open, their consciousness destroyed. They were completely dead. Ignoring her calm gaze, Suyu shook off the pitch-black corpse blood on his sword. Their souls have been corroded. Only by destroying their souls can they be killed. He walked to the front of the building with his hands clasped behind his back. Come out. There was someone else inside? Jian Hongyang and Shui Guanin's expressions tensed. However, the Ming Tower was silent. Since you don't want to show yourself, I'll have to ask you to come out. The Azura sword swept out, a massive sword energy slashing down vertically, splitting the building in 2 from the center. A rumbling sound reverberated throughout the universe. Dust filled the sky. A black figure half squatting on the ground came into view. He was single-handedly holding up a large pile of rubble, his entire body releasing a powerful divine energy. The strength of his divine energy far surpassed Jian Hongyang's. The aura of a peak overlord. Shui Guanin was shocked, but when she realized Suyu was there, she heaved a sigh of relief. Jian Hongyang's heart trembled when she saw this person. The leader of the Imperial Guards, Heavenly Foot? She was even more shocked that Heavenly Foot had not been transformed. Her face lit up with joy, but she quickly realized something was wrong. They were both in the building, so why didn't the transformed corpse bite him? Why did he hide and not show himself to help? Retracting her foot, Jian Hongyang's expression darkened. Leader Heavenly Foot, can you give me an explanation? Hee crack. Heavenly Foot crushed the rubble in his palm, looking up with a pair of fierce eyes. The explanation is that you're too stupid. You can't even compare to that little brat. Jian Hongyang turned her head to see Suyu coldly staring at Heavenly Foot, his eyes filled with disdain. The unforgivable will betray you, Suyu said slowly, the Azura sword in his hand reflecting a blood-red cold light. Betray. Jian Hongyang was dazed, feeling like she was dreaming. The leader of the Starry Pavilion's Imperial Guards had already been bribed by the Corpse Clan? The Starry Pavilion is the most prosperous business organization in the Sea of Constellations. Don't you understand that there are no eternal enemies in this world? There are only eternal benefits? Heavenly Foot stood up, shaking off the dust on his body. The ancient corpse sect has infiltrated every corner of the Sea of Constellations civilization for many years. There are people from the ancient corpse sect in all the small, medium, and large forces. I am only one of them. Hearing him say it himself, Jian Hongyang let out a dejected laugh. The chief pavilion master is determined to destroy the ancient corpse sect. It's laughable that your most trusted servant has become a member of the ancient corpse sect. I have to thank the chief pavilion master for being in seclusion all year round and trusting me. Otherwise, no matter how capable I am, how would I dare to trade with the ancient corpse sect under his watch? Heavenly Foot laughed. Jian Hongyang's eyes were filled with disdain. Tui. Traitor. Heavenly Foot laughed sinisterly. Soon, we will be comrades again, just like Bing Dao and the other 3. You did it? Jian Hongyang asked angrily. Heavenly Foot clasped his hands behind his back. They refused a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Originally, they could have been on equal footing with me and worked together for the Corpse Clan. Unfortunately, they chose the path that they shouldn't have chosen. In that case, I can only erase their consciousness. Jian Hongyang gripped her longsword tightly and said, That's because they are loyal to the chief pavilion master. Unlike you, who can give up anything for your own benefits. Don't talk big and lecture me. You don't have the right. Heavenly Foot scoffed and took a step forward. The powerful aura of a peak overlord enveloped her. Jian Hongyang only let out a muffled groan, but she stubbornly stood up. Your cultivation has improved so quickly that you're almost a peak overlord. You've caught up to me? Heavenly Foot was astonished. He said in disbelief, It seems like you received the chief pavilion master's orders to carry out a mission in secret and obtained great benefits. However, that's all. Heavenly Foot's aura changed again. Jian Hongyang couldn't withstand the even more powerful aura. Her face turned red and she spat out a mouthful of divine blood, splattering it all over the ground. In front of a peak overlord, anyone below the glazed crystal overlord level is an ant. His aura shook and enveloped Shui Guanyin and Su Yu. Shui Guanyin's face turned pale. Even though she had a few opportunities to face peak overlords, she was still powerless in front of them. You are indeed different. Heavenly Foot stared at Su Yu, who was standing there calmly. He was both surprised and fearful. Su Yu shrugged. People often say that. Humph, aren't you just proficient in the language of the foreign races? Perhaps you've learned some strange divine arts of the foreign races. Heavenly Foot was unconcerned. You can play tricks, but in the face of absolute power, you'll have to show your true colors. Heaven trampling. He took a step forward and immediately gathered a horrifying and majestic aura to crush Su Yu. In Su Yu's perception, it was as if the sky had collapsed, causing one's divine soul to tremble. Su Yu smiled lightly. His brown pupils gradually turned silvery white and shot out two silver flames. The two flames fused into one, becoming a silver firebird. With a chirp, it ignored the majestic aura and tunneled into Heavenly Foot's body. Heavenly Foot was caught off guard. Endless silver light shot out of his body. His expression showed signs of struggle before his body went limp. The silver firebird flew out with his soul in its mouth, and flew back to Su Yu. In less than a breath's time, the insufferably arrogant leader of the Imperial Guards had his soul captured in the blink of an eye. Jian Hongyang was stunned on the spot. It was like a dream. Heavenly Foot had been captured in a single exchange? Looking at Su Yu's back, she had the illusion that she was looking at the Chief Pavilion Master. Heavenly Foot was terrified. What did you do? What is this firebird? Creak. The flames on the firebird flickered, burning Heavenly Foot to the point of screaming in pain. Stop! Stop! This fire had an unparalleled restraining effect on souls. I'll ask and you answer. What happened after we left? Su Yu asked. Heavenly Foot hesitated for a moment. The firebird immediately released its flames, burning him until he begged for mercy. I'll speak. As soon as you left, the Chief Pavilion Master mobilized all the forces of the civilization of the Sea of Constellations to form the allied forces of the living to invade the ancient stars, but in the end, he did not continue, his eyes evasive. Su Yu said indifferently, I guess the corpse race was prepared and set up an ambush. The allied forces of the living suffered heavy casualties because of you, the spy, who tipped off the corpse race, right? Heavenly Foot defended himself. I didn't. How is the allied forces of the living now? Su Yu asked. Heavenly Foot hurriedly said, just a lot of casualties. They are above. Above? Su Yu looked up, his pupils constricting slightly. Trapped in the ancient stars? The Sea of Constellations has been completely occupied by you? Su Yu's eyes turned cold. Heavenly Foot was afraid. Except for the Purple Dream Divine Bamboo, the other three regions have been occupied. The South Sea, the North Sea, and the Star Pavilion were all occupied by the corpse race. How are the casualties of the divine warriors? Su Yu asked. Except for the death of the Emperor Killer, the rest of the divine warriors are unharmed. He was dead? Su Yu's face darkened. The death of a divine warrior of heaven and earth was no trivial matter. It meant that the other party had at least a powerful being or divine technique that could kill a divine warrior of heaven and earth. Who killed him? Hearing that, Heavenly Foot's eyes were filled with deep reverence. Lan Yu. Who? Shui Guanyin walked over and asked suspiciously, The Lan Yu you mentioned is not the same Lan Yu who was banished by the Star Pavilion, right? Lan Yu of the Star Pavilion was not worth mentioning in her eyes. It's her. A former member of the Star Pavilion, Lan Yu. Heavenly Foot was terrified. The Star Pavilion was breached because of her. She led several corpse kings to massacre the Star Pavilion and killed all the members who stayed behind to guard the Star Pavilion. The master of the Red Leaf Pavilion was personally executed by her. She was also ruthless to the rest of the people in the pavilion. At this point, Heavenly Foot shuddered, as if the bloody and vicious scene of that day was replaying before his eyes. I can be described as a beast for betraying my own faction and killing my own people. But compared to Lan Yu, haha, I'm too noble. At least I gave them a quick death. But Lan Yu's methods are infuriating. The master of the Red Leaf Pavilion was afraid of Su Yu and banished Lan Yu, who had a grudge against him. No one had expected Lan Yu to massacre the Red Leaf Pavilion and torture them to death with bloody methods that even Heavenly Foot was terrified of. Wait, how could Lan Yu lead the Corpse Kings? Shui Guanyin said in disbelief. Chapter 1747. The Corpse Emperor by Qi? Su Yu pondered. Are you talking about the white-haired Corpse King? Yes, Tianzu said in awe. After the Corpse King was the Emperor Corpse. Then what was the Corpse Emperor? How strong is he? Su Yu's eyes flashed. From their previous fight, he was only equivalent to a 1-crown emperor. 3-crown emperor, Tianzu said. Su Yu's pupils shrank. 3-crown emperor? Even the rumored strongest creature of the Du Empire was only on the verge of becoming a 3-crown emperor. If the white-haired corpse was really that strong, he would not have been injured by Su Yu's sword. Sensing Su Yu's doubt, Tianzu added, that was at his peak. He is still a 1-crown emperor. That's more like it. What's with Lan Yu? Su Yu frowned. He did not like this woman at all. She was greedy for fame and fortune, narrow-minded, and vicious after gaining power. Such a woman had become the Empress of the Corpse Emperor by Qi. Was there a hidden reason behind it? A villain intoxicated by success. Shui Guanyin clenched her fists, looking at the desolate land with deep hatred. How could she be so vicious? If I had known this would happen, I would have killed her. Su Yu stared at Tianzu, his eyes flickering. Then what are you doing here? Tianzu did not dare hide anything. Empress, you ordered me to wait for you to return. Wait for us. Su Yu did not understand. Tianzu carefully looked at Su Yu, hesitating. To be precise, we were waiting for you. She asked us to capture you alive and hand you over to her to deal with. Su Yu laughed angrily. Deal with me? She did not say, but looking at her expression, she was probably no better than the master of the Hongya Pavilion. He. Su Yu could not understand Lan Yu's thoughts. From the beginning to the end, he had never harmed a single hair on this woman's head. In fact, he had even saved her many times. But what about her? For some reason, she hated Su Yu. It was ridiculous. One last question. Since you are a living creature, why did the 4 Imperial Corpse clan guards not attack you? Tianzu's eyes flickered, but he did not speak. Humph. Su Yu's eyes shot out a beam of light, piercing deep into his soul. Soul control technique. Tianzu only had time to groan before his soul was taken over. Answer me, how did you do it? Tianzu's eyes were lifeless as he said, the corpse race specially developed the heavenly corpse powder. Where? It's in the storage space. Su Yu sucked in the air and pulled the limp body that had fallen to the ground over to him. When he swept his gaze across the area, he immediately discovered that the space around the body was fluctuating. Su Yu gathered a mass of space divine power in his palm. Then, he reached into it and took out a white jade box. There was a large amount of purplish-black powder inside, emitting a dense corpse aura. How do I use it? As long as you store a small amount in the inner palace, the corpse race will determine that you are of the same race through the corpse qi they emit. They will not attack you. Tianzu explained in detail. Implanted in the inner palace? Su Yu understood. All right, you can go now, Su Yu said indifferently. The silver firebird opened its mouth and swallowed his entire soul. The feathers on the surface of its body became more realistic, and even its eyes began to move. Jian Hongyang was incomparably respectful towards the leader of the Imperial Guards being killed with a wave of her hand. "Senior, it seems that we have to make a trip to the ancient star," Su Yu said to Jian Hongyang. Jian Hongyang hurriedly bowed in return and said, "Senior Su, please don't insult me. I don't deserve to be called senior." She smiled bitterly in her heart. If she had known that Su Yu was hiding such powerful strength, how would she dare to call herself a senior? Su Yu did not beat around the bush and said, "Keep some of the heavenly corpse powder for each of you inside." Shui Guanyin took a portion and stored it in the inner palace. She said, "The chief pavilion master was obviously waiting for us to retrieve the Beixin King tripod. Why did he suddenly launch an expedition? Did something happen and he changed his mind at the last minute? Maybe not." Su Yu sighed. "I think he planned it from the beginning. He gave us an impossible task, but he sent the most promising junior of the Sea of Constellations away in advance, leaving a spark for the Sea of Constellations. So, as soon as we left, he immediately launched an expedition to the ancient star." Shui Guanyin's throat was hoarse, as if blocked by something, and she could not speak. Her crystal-like eyes were filled with tears, and she choked with sobs. "You mean the chief pavilion master has had an ominous premonition for a long time?" It was more than ominous. Perhaps Huangfu Liang had already predicted their end. The memories of Empress Ziwei, the merciless Saber Emperor, and Shui Guanyin might have been erased by Huangfu Liang, but Su Yu had cleverly preserved them. In that memory, Huangfu Liang had revealed a secret that no one knew. That was, the palm of the Emperor's corpse 30,000 years ago had not recovered at all. Instead, it had become more severe. He did not have much life left. Once the injury could not be suppressed and broke out, his vitality would be cut off, and then he would be transformed into a corpse with a double-crowned emperor. In this battle, he had cut off all means of retreat, and he had no chance of winning. If he could win, he could pacify the hidden dangers of the ancient corpse. Unfortunately, from the current situation, there was no sign of victory. Instead, he had fallen into a desperate situation. Looking up at the ancient star, Su Yu had a premonition that the threads of fate were fluctuating more violently. If it was not necessary, he did not want to go there. However, the whereabouts of Xia Jingyu and Shungo were unknown. They had either died in battle and turned into corpses, or they were among the remaining living beings that were surrounded by the coalition army. "Let's go." Su Yu's eyes were overflowing with determination. Yin and Yang energies appeared above his head, and he instantly left the star pavilion and headed straight for the ancient star. The closer he got to the ancient star, the more intense the evil purple light became. Roar! Before he could get close, dozens of transformed corpses rushed out from inside. They sniffed with their nostrils and turned back to the ancient star with expressionless faces. Su Yu sensed that the heavenly corpse powder in his inner mansion was slightly heating up. This thing was really useful. Relieved, everyone descended on the ancient star. What came into view was a shocking scene. The entire ancient star was densely covered with countless transformed corpses. They were densely packed like an endless forest. They crowded together, roaring and running in a certain direction. The ear-piercing strange cries and the dense group of corpses made one's hair stand on end. "Where are they going?" Shui Guanyin asked. Su Yu's eyes were filled with wisdom. "There are only two places. One is to pay a visit to the Supreme Corpse Emperor, and the other is to besiege the trapped living beings. We will know once we get to the bottom of it." The three of them looked at each other and entered the mighty group of corpses without any expression on their faces. They followed them forward. A few days later, a huge city with a height of 10,000 feet appeared in front of them. The city was made of bronze coffins, messy and irregular. It could be seen that it was built in a hurry. A steady stream of corpses attacked inside frantically, but without exception, as soon as they got close, they were smashed to pieces by the divine technique on the city wall. We are lucky to have encountered the Living Beings Alliance. Su Yu smiled and separated the group of corpses in front of him, leading 2 people to imitate the corpse clan. Shui Guanyin and Jian Hongyang understood tacitly. They pretended to be the corpse clan and followed the group of corpses slowly approaching the city wall. As long as they reached within 10,000 feet of the city wall, they would have the strength to jump in. Boom! The first batch of corpses was blasted into dust, and the second batch filled in. Su Yu and the others were able to move forward. The process was extremely long. Su Yu and the other 2 were patient and did not dare to make any drastic movements, lest they were seen through. If they were seen through, it would be more difficult to escape from the encirclement of countless corpses. Finally, they entered the first 3 batches and were 3,000 feet away from the city wall. As long as the first 2 batches were destroyed, they could rush into the city wall. The 3 of them had different degrees of urgency. Soon, they had finally reached this step. Woo woo woo. Suddenly, a series of low bugles sounded from the back of the army. The batch of corpses in front of Su Yu changed their charging stance and turned around to run back. The group of corpses, including Su Yu's, all turned around and retreated like the tide. Sound the gongs to retreat? Of all times? Shui Guanyin was so angry that a mouthful of blood was stuck in her chest. Jian Hongyang clenched her teeth and moved her shoulders, preparing to force her way through. A distance of 3,000 feet, if there were no major accidents, should not be too much of a problem. However, just as her shoulders moved, Su Yu's palm pressed them down. His warning sounded in her ear. "Do not act rashly," Jian Hongyang said. "We might as well give it a try. With the 3 of us joining forces, unless the opponent's corpse king personally interferes, the probability of us entering the city is very high." Su Yu shook his head. "Do not be impatient. Let's wait and see." Almost as soon as Su Yu's voice fell, more than 10 figures rushed out from the corpse army, heading straight for the city wall. They emitted corpse energy and looked like the corpse clan, but their bodies did not have any characteristics of the corpse clan. Jian Hongyang was surprised. They also obtained the heavenly corpse powder? Su Yu's eyes shone. "We are not the only ones who have found a way to infiltrate the corpse clan," Jian Hongyang said excitedly. "Quick! Let's go too. With more people, the targets will be scattered. It will be easier for us to enter." Su Yu was still pressing down on her shoulders. He said firmly, "I said, do not act rashly." Swish, swish, swish. At that moment, the appearance of the dozen or so living creatures triggered a series of strange phenomena. The scattered living creatures that had been hiding among the corpses leaped out one after another. One after another, living creatures gave up their disguises and escaped from the horde of corpses, fleeing toward the city wall. A rough count showed that there were no less than 10 of them. In the blink of an eye, they had leaped 20,000 feet and were rapidly approaching the 10,000 feet range. 10,000 feet. They were only a leap away from the city wall. At the same time, the horde of corpses finally reacted, roaring angrily. Boom! At the same time, the terrifying corpse energy descended like dark clouds. The powerful pressure of a divine warrior of heaven and earth crushed down. The corpse king had struck. But even the corpse king could not stop the many living creatures that were about to leap into the city wall. The living creatures that had escaped 10,000 feet shouted, "We are all living creatures, please do not attack." There was a slight hesitation within the city wall, but they did not attack. Those who had escaped were overjoyed. On the other hand, Jian Hongyang's expression was extremely ugly. She stared at Su Yu angrily and resentfully. If Su Yu had not stopped them, they would have escaped by now. It was all because of Su Yu's excessive caution that they had missed the best opportunity. It was impossible to escape into the city wall now. If they moved, they would immediately be intercepted by the corpse king behind them. Shui Guanyin also regretfully bit her lip. With a single thought, they could have entered the city. Looking at the two groups of living creatures that were about to escape, the two women's hearts were indescribably complicated. However, at that moment, an unexpected scene happened. The first group of living creatures that had escaped turned around without warning. The second group of living creatures that had escaped were caught off guard and collided with them. Ah! A series of screams sounded like thunder. At the moment of collision, the first group of living creatures suddenly attacked the second group of living creatures. In an instant, 5 living creatures were destroyed.